I was asked to go undercover in this most unique case the FBI's ever run. I was thrown into an impossible investigation from the start. It's just me. There's no one to help me. I remember in that moment thinking, I gotta run. Now's the moment I die.
This is Eric O'Neill. He is a former FBI counterterrorism and counterintelligence operative, and he went undercover to take down the most damaging spy in U.S. history, who was in the FBI.
They couldn't believe it was us. There were agents who said, I just found out that my entire career has been for nothing. In order to catch Hansen, who was a hacker, you needed a hacker. He's the top analyst against Russia, and before that, the Soviet Union. He had been grooming me to take over. He's like, look, here's how you could spy. He would write fan fiction about sex with his wife and post it on online forum. He would have his best friend come and visit, and then he'd have his friend climb up on the roof and watch them through a skylight.
Eric is now a best-selling author and keynote speaker, sharing the skills he acquired in the FBI to help prevent cybercrime.
We were actually trained to lie, and we are actually very good liars. People who lie tend not to maintain eye contact. If I'm talking to you, I'm going to think of the next thing. I will probably look up and then back. People do the same thing when they lie. You know, one thing about working undercover is you learn to control your body. I've got skills that are inexplicable.
Now he's going to share that knowledge and his entire unbelievable story with us.
The only difference today between getting attacked by a spy, a cyber spy, and a cyber criminal is the outcome, which is why cybercrime right now is the fastest growing business on earth. If you believe that you're too smart and it can't happen to you, you're screwed. When you are going to be the victim of a scam, something that you see time and time again.
Love it.
Eric, thank you so much for coming. This is really exciting. Yeah, I mean, you said we were chasing bad guys, but talk about chasing bad guys. I mean, your story is unbelievable. And I don't even know where to start, but thank you for taking the time to come. This is...
Yeah, no worries. It's great to be here. It's great to be out in LA in studio with a real
with
person.
the good weather.
Yes. I know that neither of you are deep fakes. Like, I'm really talking to real people.
We're going to talk about that too.
Can touch you. Yeah. I think that's more important.
The world doesn't
today.
need any more Zoom meetings right now. I feel like, so this is, it's what a treat. So thank you so much. I guess I'll start here. I feel like we've dabbled a little bit with working with feds, and we've had our own kind of, not run-in, but experience with the FBI, and everything being so, like, for us, so secretive. And it just always blows my mind how it can go from one extreme to the other, where the work that we were doing, like, you can't talk about it, can't do this, can't do that. And then, like, someone like you who is literally in there can now tell these stories so publicly. How does that work? And how and why are you allowed to talk about this stuff now?
I'm one of the few people who came out of the FBI that is so vocal about not only what I did within the FBI, but about the things that I'm passionate about, protecting against crime, in particular cybercrime, counter-espionage, dealing with spies and traitors and terrorists. Part of the reason is because I'm a public speaker and I'm an author. I have 2 books. My first Gray Day is the story of going undercover to catch Robert Hansen, who was the spy that
which definitely want to talk about that.
Was tasked to go catch in the FBI. And my new book that just came out, Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime, is it's storytelling, but everything you need to know to protect yourself in this often dizzying world of cybercrime and cyber attacks, and this connection to espionage that I create in the book. Most of the reason that I began speaking is because Universal made a movie about me. I mean, my first real trips out here in LA were around the pitching and then the producing the movie Breach, which was a Universal movie. Billy Ray's the director. Adam Mazer and Bill Rothko wrote it.
Were you out by that time?
Pays me. Yeah, so I was definitely out of the FBI. You can't do anything like that.
Well, and that's
when
what
you're
I was
still in,
like.
right.
How does that? Yeah, like, do you just leave and then next Monday you can talk about it, or like, do you have to ask for permission?
This was the cadence. Hansen got arrested. He pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
It was some months after that end of that case. In the movie, I leave like the next day, right? But in real life, I went back on the street. I was back doing undercover work, and it never had the same gravitas that working undercover against a spy. And also, I was really burnt out. The day that I was asked to go undercover in this most unique case the FBI's ever run, I had been married 3 months. So I was a newlywed, and she had no idea what I was doing. And it was really destructive on the marriage. And, I could see the trajectory in my life. And was I going to continue doing this? So I left. And after I left, I first asked, can I go see Hansen? Right? Because I needed that closure. And I never got that opportunity.
Wow.
And then
to go to prison, you meaning, right?
To go see him in prison, right?
Did he... At what
didn't
point did
know
he
at that
find
point.
out?
Oh,
so he didn't even know. I know. I
so crazy.
He had no idea that it was me.
So when did he learn? Did you tell him?
He would have probably found out later. He probably would have either. I think I did like a 2020 interview when we were trying to sell the movie to gin up a lot of buzz around it.
Yeah.
And he would have been able to see that in his prison room.
The look on his face, like you can only imagine.
It would have blown his mind. In fact, they didn't want him to know originally that I was the undercover asset. That it was because of my work that he was caught. Because they had this delicate negotiation where they're trying to get him to plead guilty to save this whole public trial.
Right.
I mean, we had him dead to rights. There was no way out for him.
Yeah.
And
he got 15 life sentences. There
was just nowhere he's ever coming out. He just died in prison in 2023 in June.
Recently.
But I wanted that closure, and I see it as one of my personal failings. I didn't push harder. I didn't try more. And each year I kind of tried, and I talked to the Bureau of Prisons. They say, go talk to FBI. And I talk to FBI. They go, you have to go to Bureau of Prisons. And I go, you guys just aren't. No one has an idea, right? Yeah. And then they're like, go talk to his family. I'm like, they don't want to talk to me. It's like, come on, people. So it was clear that no one really wanted me in there, And I didn't push as hard as I probably could have. It was weird after this all happened and he died, and I was being interviewed a lot about his death and what I felt. And, I felt like a sense of loss because it's an opportunity that I'll never have. And he was so incredibly instrumental in my life. I mean, catching the biggest spy in U.S. history opens a couple of doors for people, right?
Yeah.
The former warden of Supermax Prison, where he was in Florence, Colorado, heard all this or read one of the interviews and reached out on LinkedIn and was like, if you had contacted me, I would have got you in.
Wow.
I was like,
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, right.
Crazy.
But at the end of the day, to get back to your original question, Ashton, my brother was working in LA. My brother, David O'Neill, he's working in LA, acting and doing some writing. He knew two writers, producers, and he was just at my place in Eastern Market in DC after it all was done, and I was just decompressing. And I couldn't tell him anything about the case then. It was still all classified. But what I could tell him is that I worked for this guy, and he was the worst boss you've ever met in your life. And he's like, wait a minute. You worked for the worst boss ever, and it turns out he was America's biggest spy. That's got to be a movie.
Yeah. So was it his idea?
It was his idea to go to, and he put it all together. He ends up being a producer on the film. I assisted and everything. And it kind of helped launch his career as well, and my career. It was good for everyone who was attached to it. It was a critically acclaimed movie. But that's how I started being okay with talking about these things, and because the FBI spends an enormous amount of time pounding into your head, you don't talk about anything you did ever. And for a while,
familiar. That's our experience. Yeah.
When the movie came out, for a while, there were a lot of old school, crusty, ancient FBI dudes who were real pissed at me. Like, Eric O'Neill is self-aggravating, out for himself. But really what I was doing was I was telling an incredible story that ended up being the FBI's Top Gun. I mean, Universal didn't just go make this movie in a vacuum. They were working hand in hand with the FBI's media department, with the pre-publication review.
And they kept you very involved, right?
And I was involved in the whole thing.
That's great.
And it was really good for the FBI. Applications to be FBI agents, but all different jobs in the FBI, because there's a lot of different jobs in the FBI that are just as important. We're up beyond what they've ever been. And it was a great story. It was a story that really needed to be told. And
was there like any specific person you needed to get clearance or a permission, or once you're out, that doesn't really apply anymore? Or like,
I can't write and publish anything. So both of my books, the first readers were FBI pre-publication review. So I have a commitment where I have to send my work to them to review before it can be published, which can be agonizing when you have deadlines with your editor.
Right.
And they're like, well, I need this. I'm like, I'm still waiting for the FBI. And I remember for my first book, Gray Day, it was kind of held up in pre-publication review, and it had been there they were actually pretty quick compared. And I'm going back and forth with them. And then suddenly Comey, he went through his mess, and then his book went right through. And I was like, okay, guys, I called him. I was like, look, you can't push this dude's book just because he was a director. That's not fair. I was first in line. And then it went through really quick.
Did they have to do that with the screenplay then too?
The screenplay, I know that Billy Ray, who was a director, he rewrote the original draft that I wrote with two writers here in Hollywood and LA, Adam Mazer and Bill Rotko. He did submit it to the FBI because he wanted them to work with him. And they sent it back like this whole sheet of red. And as the legend goes, he went back to them. He said, yeah, I'm not a fan of your edits. And I can do this story one of two ways. I can tell the story, a hero story of a young guy who's thrown into an impossible situation and succeeds because this amazing team of FBI around him helped him grow into it, which is really the truth. But there's another truth. Or I can tell the story of this poor young guy who you threw into a room because you didn't have anybody else. And but for your, sacrificing him, he found a way to succeed and make you look really bad. Right? And so which do you want?
That's a great ultimatum.
And they're like, we'll take choice A. Choice A.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then the doors open. They approved everything. They gave him access to counterintelligence agents who helped him. The agents who actually arrested Hansen were with Chris Cooper and Dennis Haysbert at the park for the arrest scene in the movie to show the actors being the agents. This is how I did it. Here's how I cuffed him. Here's what he said. They get unprecedented access to the FBI. Only two things have ever been shot in the FBI before. The movie Breach has some scenes with Ryan Phillippe shot in the FBI headquarters. And I did a TV show, FBI True, where we did an episode on Hansen, and we shot my episode in the courtyard. So if it's attached to me, we get to shoot in the FBI.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
I have so many questions.
I'm we jump straight to the most juicy topic. I know.
No, it's good.
No, but we'll talk about all of these. I just want to kind of go back and always start when we have people that we invited, people that we interested. I found some similarities between you and me. My father was in Navy and he served in nuclear submarines.
Oh, wow.
But I found out that your father was in Navy as well, right?
That's
US
right.
Navy?
Yeah, my dad was a naval officer, went to the Naval Academy, graduated class of 68, and was recruited into the submarine program, nuclear submarines, and then served on two classified nuclear submarines as an officer, and then finished his tour, and I was born. And he actually made it back from sea the day before I was born, or a few days before I was born, and then had to go back out. And after I think that last tour, he decided not to re-up his service, got out of the Navy, and then ended up going to Yale Law School and practiced law the rest of his career in nuclear energy law, which was this new emerging area of law. So he was really able to write his ticket to an amazing career.
Wow.
I was talking to my mom, and when you in Soviet Union, Navy, and when you top, I'm pretty sure my dad, he died when I was 6, but I'm pretty sure my dad was spying Marquis submarine next to Cuba, especially in 70s, 80s, and all this stuff. And my mom said that maximum you can see your husband twice per year, but usually it's once a year.
Yeah.
What was the situation when your father was?
It's more. I think they did 6-month deployments, something like that. So they'd see him a little bit more, but then it's gone. And remember, you might have heard from your mom, but back then you were deployed and that was that.
Yeah.
Now you can actually communicate.
FaceTiming.
Right? There's real, but back then they went on board, and it's not like they had a whole Netflix library. They brought books, they found things to do. They would play a lot of poker.
They will drink a lot as well.
They would not in the U.S. Navy. There's no alcohol. No, not at all.
That's a difference between Russia.
That's a difference, right?
Okay.
But they would, one thing that my father did do is for a lot of the guys on the boat, which is what they call submarines, he would teach English classes. He would teach classes, especially for the enlisted guys who wanted to maybe go back to school after, because it was something to keep your mind going.
Absolutely,
right?
Just to get occupied.
Yeah, exactly.
So after all these, you already growing up in military family.
Mm-hmm.
What about your mom? What is her story?
My mom was a nurse. She worked as a nurse, a Navy nurse. She wasn't in the Navy, but she worked in the Naval Hospital. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. And then she continued nursing throughout her career, teaching as a nurse. When I was really little, she worked in a burn ward. So she was like a serious nurse, seeing some of the most horrible things you can see, in a children's burn ward.
Oof.
And so I had a really stable parental environment, which is amazing. And it's how, my wife and I are dedicated to our children the same way. And one of the most amazing, big things that have happened just this year is my daughter, my oldest, just got into the Naval Academy. So we'll continue that tradition. Yeah. And in a way, it's kind of like correcting. I was supposed to go to the Naval. I was raised to go to the Naval Academy. I spent all day going, like every year we'd go to Annapolis over and over. I was on that campus constantly. I was Go Navy. It was my dream for my entire life. And I applied and I didn't get directly in.
Wow.
It didn't get in. And so what I was going to do is go to a different school. I went to Auburn University in Alabama and as an aerospace engineer. And I was going to do that for a year and then transfer back into the Naval Academy. You'd have to start over, but I figured I'll start over with a year of aerospace and it'll be better. But after a year in Auburn, I decided I'm not going to go into the military. I kind of want to stay down here. I want to finish this. And I ended up not getting the aerospace engineering degree anyway.
Wow.
So, things change. Your life changes. The things that you grew up or thought that you wanted to do, that path of your life that you thought was set in stone, that was your destiny. And sometimes you look at it and you say, no, I think I'm doing something else. And then my father basically just terraformed my two youngest brothers to go to the academy, and there was no other choice, and sent them to prep schools where they didn't want anything but to get out of the prep school. And so my two youngest brothers served in the Navy. And so you got me. I'm an attorney, now a writer, author, speaker, cybersecurity specialist, spy hunter, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Well, that's why.
And then my brother's an actor and now a writer. He's producing a TV show in Brussels right now.
That's beautiful.
And my two youngest brothers, I had a aviator and a Navy SEAL. So
wow.
Kind of full family.
Good Lord. It is. And that's what kind of like, if my father would be alive, I know that I would not be sitting here. I will be obviously in Belarusian Navy
right.
and I will be in military 100%. As a young kid, you always like military and space.
Yeah.
Those two subjects, right? We have Yuri Gagarin, first person in space, and you have like all these badass nuclear submarines and stories and movies and propaganda.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October is still an amazing book, and it was a great movie. But now would not be a good time to be in the Russian military.
Oh, that's very true. Well, that's why when I started reading about your resume, your biography, I was like, how did he end up being in FBI?
Yeah,
walk us through from your childhood, teenager, and how did you like? All right, so this is my.
I was looking for a new destiny. I decided not to do the trajectory of my life for my entire life up to getting into college, and then I graduated from college with a degree in psychology and political science, kind of with an eye towards law, but didn't know what to do or where to go. And I ended up getting a job as a consultant back in Washington, D.C., where I had been living before I went to school. And when you're in your 20s, when you're 21 years old and you're sitting in a windowless office and you're looking at an Excel spreadsheet all day, I mean, basically my job was to do damage assessments for law firms. And I would look at the case and I would plug everything in and all the numbers and say, you can sue for $1.235 million and 52 cents, right? And here's all the backup for it. And I could just feel, amazing opportunity. I got out of college and I had a job. And most kids today can't say that. It's really hard. But I could feel my soul just leaving my body every day I walked into the office. And I also felt guilty. I felt that I hadn't done what I was supposed to do. I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to do something that made a difference. And I wanted to do something that would give me skills that you can't find otherwise. And often that's the military. Right? Because you can go into the military and like my daughter will go to the Naval Academy. She will graduate. She will serve doing things that no other 20-year-old is going to do. And then she will have her pick of careers when she's out of the Navy. So I wanted to find that purpose in life. And for me, that was applying to civilian jobs like the FBI, DEA, CIA, Secret Service,
So you did
everything.
apply.
I applied everywhere. And back then you sent a postcard and they sent you an application and you put this in this old device we used to use called typewriters. And you typed that sucker up with a lot of whiteout because there was nothing more horrible than trying to type in a small little box in application. Yeah. God, that was hell. I think just getting through the application put you to the top because most people just...
they will fail.
Yeah. Now it's all online, right? Yeah. But I applied and I got into, I heard back right away from FBI, CIA, DEA. FBI then came back and said, wait, you're under 25. You got to be 25 years old to be an agent. But there's this secret program that we think you're perfect for. Would you consider it? And I was like, secret program? I'm like, it sounds good to me. Yeah. Secret. And that was a program called the SSG, Special Surveillance Group, AKA the Ghosts. And it was an undercover group of counterintelligence and counterterrorism operatives that never came in a cover, deep cover. And you would do everything from surveillance to infiltration to tracking high value, high profile targets and stop them before they blew something up or stole whatever.
Isn't that on par with being an agent? Like, why do you have to be 25 to be an agent, but not 25 to do that?
The difference between what I did and what an agent does are both law enforcement careers, but our training at the FBI Academy in Quantico was dedicated to the undercover work. So this was the supreme undercover operatives on earth. It's all we learned, right? So we don't have to learn some of the law because we're law enforcement officers, but because we don't make arrests, we don't have to learn all of that. You'll never have that
encounter,
right? We would call agents in to make the arrests at the end. So when you're talking to, in the counterintelligence division in the FBI, the cool stuff is actually done by ghosts, not agents. They do a lot of the analytical work at desks.
And they come in at the end.
And task us to go out and hunt, right? So it was, in my 20s, the coolest thing I could do. I was working undercover using some of the most amazing technology. I've got skills that are inexplicable. Like the things that like going in a room and being able to observe and just immediately track everything I've got to worry about. I mean, things that are ingrained in my head. And one of the things I've raised my kids to be very self-aware, to understand where they are, to be very protective. And in these sort of instincts, I'm sure you see it in a lot of what you do in trying to track down criminals. You got to be, otherwise, threats are always surrounding you, and being able to spot them before they're able to take advantage of you is critical.
What are some of those go-to like textbook rules that you've learned that maybe you either teach your kids or that, you just have for yourself, like the basic one of like, oh, you never have your back to the door in a public place or whatever. But like, what are some of those like go-to things that you would like always do this without fail?
Well, here's a couple of cool ones. One is body awareness. So I've practiced martial arts my whole life. I've taught it. I've taught my children. Part of that is really just body awareness. How far does my fist extend before it's going to hit something? You kind of have to know that. And part of that is also like, who is surrounding me in space and how fast would I need to move, or what would I need to do in order to avoid a threat? So part of that is threat tracking. And part of that can be when you're going to choose a seat somewhere in a restaurant, do you have your back to the entire door and now you can't see anything happening around you? Or do you position yourself so you've got a good everything. 180 degree in front of you view of everything? The other thing is when you walk into a room, evaluate. Don't just blindly walk into any space. Evaluate, see what's in there. I mean, I even do that when I'm sitting in church, like especially now, like, is there anyone I don't recognize? Here's a cool one. Look up. Nobody looks up. Right? We used to track some of the best Russian targets, right? And they would go into malls, and I would always go to the top level, and they're just not looking up. Wow. They should. They're just being lazy. But and you can just walk along right above them. And
so you've already tracked and already calculated how fast you could take all three of us out if you need to, right?
No.
We actually, when we went to testify, remember 2022 or 2023 to San Diego with the case with DOJ and everything. So, and while we in San Diego going to testify of everything that we've done with the scammers, right? We're going to sit in front of the jury. We have like 3 hours to kill because he goes first and he's going to tell them everything. Then I go second. I'm going to tell them everything. So I'm sitting in a room with who became a really good, not friend, but buddy of ours.
Acquaintance, yeah.
Yes. And I was kind of like, hey, we did a lot of damage in India. They put bounty on our heads. We're doing a lot of damage here with cash mules, with Chinese mafia. what you can recommend as a public awareness. And everything that you just said, and he was like exactly the same. He was like, if you go to the restaurant, don't sit where like back to the exit. Always you have to see everything. If you go to the aisle, always see who's behind you, what they shopping and how close they are. So like all these tricks. And he was like, listen, I know you cannot carry a lot of stuff in California, but even pepper spray. He would like get like something that at least you have a little advantage to survive if there is like 2 or more
pepper spray
people.
is incredibly effective, especially in your car. And if someone approaches your window, if someone approaches your window and they look aggressive, spray them. Don't even like think twice.
Do we allow to have pepper spray in the car?
Oh, yeah.
By law and cops, when they stop you,
it depends on the state. It depends on the state. Yeah, but most states you're allowed. Now there are certain different kinds of sprays. Like it's traditionally a spray that's using capsum, which is the pepper off of like a habanero or jalapeno that can be an immense irritant, but isn't going to cause any damage. That's not a chemical spray. And there are states where chemical sprays aren't allowed. So you just have to know the rules.
But most
in your
self-defense, like keychain sprays, you can probably
most of those are capsum. So what they're going to do is they're going to make you absolutely miserable. You're going to be blind because your eyes are burning. Your nose is going to run. It's going to swell.
You're going to be feeling
choking. Yeah.
So you become a ghost at such a young age.
You become a ghost, love it.
How does that work with like your people in your life knowing what you're doing? Like,
well, they didn't.
Even from the application?
So no. So I was actually in Quantico. They knew I was going into the FBI. I couldn't say what I was doing, and didn't talk about it. They knew I applied. They knew I was like my roommates, my friends, my family knew I was going to the FBI Academy in Quantico, but I didn't tell them what I did. And when I met people, I would have to lie. We were actually trained to lie, and we were actually very good liars because you never want to. Okay, so if you're in a situation and you're tracking a target and they go into, say, a nightclub, right? And you got to get in with them. You can't pull your badge out and say, FBI, I've got to get in. Now, the second you say that to the doorman, every single person in that club is going to find out there's an FBI guy in here. You got to talk your way through. So you learn to be very good at social engineering. You have a pretext, a reason. And I found that when I was operating, they would come right into my head and the perfect thing to say and incredibly persuasive. And when I wasn't operating, I was horrible at it. I'm a terrible liar. But and it's funny, my uncle Ralph is a psychiatrist and a therapist. And he was thinking about this once. And he's like, everybody knows you're a lousy liar, but you're really good at your job. And he'd say, you know what? When you were wearing that shield, when you had your badge and your credentials, you were given a license to lie. And that let you override, your sense of honesty and it's right.
Permit to lie. Sounds good.
Because you can't show that stuff. So yeah, you're very good tactically at doing these things that maybe but it bleeds into your own life. I can't lie to my wife.
Well, that's what
it's
impossible.
She knows in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If I could have that skill, I'd take it.
She might not still be married to you then.
I have tried, and it's just impossible.
What makes a good liar?
Oh, so what makes a good liar is that it's very simple. You have to believe your lie. You have to believe it. You have to absolutely believe it.
What are you saying?
So you don't betray. So in your mind, as the lie is coming into your brain, you have to believe it's true. You have to convince yourself it's true. In fact, there were times when I was working undercover that I had a little trouble separating whether this was true or not. And it would bleed over into dreams until you think that this stuff you made up actually happened.
Did happen.
Yeah. Because you're putting your mind in this place
too.
Because here's the problem. When you lie, we're conditioned not to lie. We're conditioned to tell the truth. It's the way we're raised, unless you're a total sociopath, right?
Right.
And when you lie, you're breaking your own self-enforced conditioning. And so your body responds physiologically with all sorts of tells.
Yeah.
You're uncomfortable. Lying makes us uncomfortable. Even people are really good at it. In somewhere,
the nose,
all sorts of tells.
So many like.
That's why in my first book, I spend a chapter talking about the polygraph machine, which people erroneously call the lie detector. There's no such thing as a lie detector. But I go through my first polygraph in the FBI when I was getting my security clearance, top secret SCI security clearance with all the letters afterwards. I'm not allowed to talk about. And it's not the machine. The machine just evaluates my physiological response to the polygraph examiner asking questions. And the first thing he has to do, or it just doesn't work, is make me lie. He has to make me lie. If he can't get me to lie in a way where he knows I'm lying because he's baited me into it, he has no baseline to compare any other question to. And I remember my first polygraph, he's having a horrible time because I was literally a Boy Scout.
Oh, wow.
He's like, have you ever smoked pot? No. Have you ever stolen anything? No. Have you ever done, no, I've never committed a crime.
So how would he know you're lying if he
You know what he got me to lie? He did this whole diatribe about how we don't want liars in the FBI and we don't want people who would ever betray. And it's really important to us that no one who come into the FBI betray. And he went on for like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I'm not going to betray. Like, you've got it. And then he said, I'm going to ask you just some simple questions. And he finally gets to one. He says, have you ever lied to someone who loves you? Like, have you ever lied to your mom? And after this whole thing about betrayal, I'm like, no.
Oh, that's how we know.
Of course, everybody has.
All kids did.
And then I should have known. I was Korean. Now I could see it, right? As I was writing it, he just relaxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I got my lie. And like my chart's going, good.
So
then it's like, have you ever been approached by a foreign intelligence officer with a request for information?
Then what's a telltale? How can you spot a liar? Like what's,
so I am not a lie. I have friends who do this for a living, and I'm good at it, but I'm not like a human lie detector, right? And people think I am, but I'm not. Like I don't go sit and play poker with people, and I'm good at reading tells. I'm like just lousy at poker, or else I'd probably be really awesome at it. But there are tells. People who lie tend not able to maintain eye contact. Yes. You will see when they lie that they look away, right? So if I'm like the camera, as I lie, I might do that. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're lying. Yeah. Your mind is processing way more than just the answer you're giving. It's processing the answer you're giving, the fact that it's a lie, the fact that you want the person to believe it's a lie, and all of this extra information, which throws you off. That's why, people who are sociopathic just don't feel any of that.
Yeah.
And they're able to just say what they need, what they want to say to get what they need.
Is there any truth to like, the brain and how it's wired to like, you'll look left if you're pulling from a memory and look right if you're pulling from something fictional? Like
some psychologists say that it's not always true. Yeah. People are different. Yeah. It all depends on the person. Yeah. But when people are accessing information, they tend, eye contact for me is a big deal because I'm a public speaker. So I've gotten very good at it. But most people access information, like Aston, if I'm talking to you, and maybe I should do this to camera. If I'm talking to you and I'm going to think of the next thing, I will probably look up and then back, right? I'm looking away from you because I'm processing, I'm pulling it, and now I'm going to deliver it, right? People do the same thing when they lie. So whether it's left or right, you can see if people are always kind of looking away, blinking, and even you can see this very subtle flinch, they might be lying to you.
Well, so next time I talk to you and I'm flinching, then you'll know that I'm going to
next time I was like, why are you so
But once again, it's not showing the lie. It's showing the physical reaction to making yourself lie. It's the discomfort. Yeah. And what you're seeing, what you're keying in on is a discomfort in the person.
Question for you.
Fascinating.
When you went through the academy and everything and you newbie, right? and all these, what were the biggest challenges as you just enter? And this is your first day as official FBI officer. Did they treat you like you just got here, right? You have to learn your place to even speak.
Well, yeah,
how's democracy or not democracy? What
the social politics of it?
Yeah, what is the politics inside when you just newbie?
Well, essentially, the way that it works when you're on teams in special operations, and not to be too particular to what I did, because a lot of it is classified, especially the ways and means and how we do it. It's still a group of undercover operatives that's doing this all over the country and the world. So you can't get too into it because adversaries would use that information. Mm-hmm. But in special operations, how you're treated and how much crap you get from your team depends on how well you do at your job, right? So the faster you start swimming, right, and get over the dog paddling and drowning and splashing around, the more you're integrated in the team and the more you're respected. So the better you are at it, the less crap you get from your team. I ended up being pretty good at it. I just found it was a skill And I was dedicated. I wanted to learn more about how to be a better photographer. Back then we shot with film.
Yeah.
So you only had like a roll of 12 to 24 to get your shot.
Jeez.
You couldn't just shoot 200, digital images. We used all sorts of cool equipment, and I was always interested in the cutting edge stuff, trying something new, thermal imaging and, different tracking devices and anything I could. I was really into the technology, and I was known for that on my squad. I was writing code. I was writing programs that we could use to better the analysis that we were doing. And in fact, some of that code that I wrote,
that's what happened.
Was what led to me getting pulled into the Hansen case, because really, in order to catch Hansen, who was a hacker, you needed a hacker.
Yes.
You had to sell it. And
because we'll talk about this in a second.
Well, we'd like to interrupt this just for 1 minute to thank the sponsor of this episode, AnyDesk.
Anywho?
AnyDesk. Matt from AnyDesk, we could not be more grateful for your support, for your collaboration. And if this episode is indicative of anything, it's that having companies and company in your life that you can trust is of utmost importance. AnyDesk being the remote desktop access software that actually cares about its customers, cares about people that have fallen victim, and making that stop. Like, what am I saying? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I know one thing. I know one thing, that every single big corporation, big company, they have so much money, they can put that blind eye and don't give a shit. AnyDesk, as of right now, is the only one company. There are plenty of remote control access companies over there. You know the names. Bring your game up. AnyDesk is the only one who actually care about the community, doing it, preventing. When was the last time, Ash, when we call scammers and scammers will use AnyDesk to remote connection to victims' computers?
It's been a while, and AnyDesk is actually doing something about it. They're actually caring about the people that are using it. They're not just turning a blind eye and collecting a paycheck because they have a customer.
Of them.
Yep. They don't want the business of scammers, and that's awesome, and that's huge. And I wish every company operated that way. And not only that, they're taking a proactive effort here to sponsor scam baiters. Like, what the hell? That's freaking awesome.
We did 2 arrests in London with AnyDesk, the biggest international event, and not gonna tell you because I don't know when this episode's gonna come out. But we're doing something internationally again with
Actually, I think this episode's actually going to drop while we're there.
Oh, shit!
So,
good!
Anyway.
AnyDesk, we love you.
We're very grateful to AnyDesk. Thank you so much for sponsoring Trilogy Media. And Matt at AnyDesk, you and the charge you're leading to be anti-fraud and work against the bad forces, frogs and fraud, against the forces that want to use good products for bad usage. You're actually fighting against it and doing something about it. And I wish every company operated like you. AnyDesk, thank you so much for sponsoring the Trilogy Media podcast. Back to Eric O'Neill.
Back to spies.
I wanted to kind of jump into that a little bit with, I guess, off of your question about being new and fresh. Like, I guess, how long was it before you were recruited for that? And then at what point did you realize the magnitude of what you're involved in? Or did you at the time?
Yeah.
And so, can you kind of walk us through that day of when that all kind of shifted in that direction?
Yeah, certainly. I was undercover for around 5 years, just about 5 years before I was tasked to go undercover in the Hansen case. So at 5 years in what I did, you were a veteran. That's a long time. Most people last 2 years being, and imagine that's fully undercover. I didn't even have a name in the FBI. It was known by a code name.
Wow.
And the reason is, and we were kept apart from the major body of the FBI. The reason was if a agent went rogue, we did the investigation. So you didn't want, be following some FBI agent down the street and they turn around, they're like, "Hey, Eric, what are you doing?" Right?
So most FBI agents don't even know you're an FBI agent. Like,
they didn't know that they didn't know our identities.
Yeah.
They knew we were there, and they would send a squad out, and we would go out there and do the work.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they would come right along with us because it was fun for them, but for the most part, we were working out of black sites, fully undercover, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I became an insomniac, a coffee addict. Like, you don't sleep well. You learn not to sleep. You could be up all night. There was one case where started in the morning.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
scared the shit out of me. Oh, I was so into what you were saying. I was like, oh God.
No worries.
Speaking of our surroundings.
Yeah. In one case, we started in the morning, routine surveillance on a target, and he gets in his car. He starts driving. Next thing I know, I'm calling the girl I was supposed to go out with that night. Like, "I'm sorry, I'm in Miami. I'm not going to be able to make the date."
You got to follow him? Oh my God.
He just drove all the way south. because that's where the target went. You go, there go all your plans, right? And that made it very hard to maintain relations. So I'm really lucky I met my wife.
Can't tell
and she
why.
stuck with me. No, I can't say why. Like, what are you doing in Miami? I can't really tell you. It's a work thing. Right? No one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's BS. You're in Miami. Right.
Miami, right.
So I was a veteran undercover operative. And like I said, 3 months into my marriage to Juliana, I get a call early on a Sunday morning. And it's my boss, Supervisory Special Agent G. McClellan. He's the special agent who runs the entire squad of ghosts for the DC area. So that's a significant, Washington, D.C. is the spy capital of the world. People will say, no, it's Vienna. No, it's Paris. No, it's Moscow. It's D.C.
Yeah.
Everybody isn't just, everyone's there, whether they have an embassy or a consulate or not. There is a presence of everyone there. Like Hamas is there. Al-Qaeda is there. Cubans are there. Like everyone is there. And they're all spying on the U.S. and they're all spying on each other. Like everybody's spying on each other. DC,
what a life!
DC is like this insane, it's like lawyers and politicians and spies, right? They're everywhere, and some of them are lawyers and politicians and spies all in one,
at
right?
the same time,
yeah. And so working in DC, I get this call from Gene, and he says, "I need to talk to you." And it wasn't unreasonable. I get a call on a Sunday morning when I wasn't supposed to be working. And that happens. And then I look at my wife. And I'm like, I guess I'm going in today. And because you move when the bad guys move, you're up when they're up. You're working when they're working. And I said, let me get dressed. I'll meet you down at the offsite, which is the FBI term for the hidden site that nobody knows about, right? And he says, no, you don't have to come in. I'm right outside. And then I thought can I say bad words on this?
Of course.
I'm holding to say bad words.
Oh, yeah,
I say bad words?
I thought, well, you got to drop one every once in a while because it's the only word that fits here. I thought it was fucked.
You thought you were going to take you out or something?
I thought, fucked. So I thought, what was going through my mind? He's calling to bring me out, separate me from my wife, get me on the street in a controlled environment. I've been following a ton of Russians. They are notorious for figuring out who you were and then cycling compromising information, aka compromat, that gets back into the channels. And then you get hauled in because they've set it up to make you look like a spy. It's very complicated, but it happens a lot.
Oh my God.
And then it screws you because even when you're cleared, well, obviously they know who you are, so you can't do what you do anymore. And so I thought I was doomed, and I'm like trying to show a brave face to my wife who I can't lie to. She knows something's wrong. I'm like, I'll be back. Gene's outside. Your boss? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go talk to him.
Oh my God.
Give her kiss her goodbye, maybe for the last time. And I head out there and he's just sitting in his car grinning because he knows. And in the FBI, everybody gives everybody shit because, it's like being in the military. And I get in the car and now I'm annoyed and I'm like, why are you here? Right. And he's like, I got a question for you. And I had to ask it right now. And I'm like, okay. And he says, have you ever heard of a guy named Robert Hansen? And I hadn't. I was like, no. He's like, okay, we want you to go undercover to try to catch him. And I said, and now I was mad. And I looked at him, like, Gene, you came out here on a Sunday morning, woke me up, scared the hell out of me. I don't know what Juliana's thinking out there to tell me to do my job. And he said, you couldn't wait till Monday. And he said, no, I don't think you understand, Eric. We don't want you to ghost this guy. We think he's a spy, and we want you to go undercover in this brand new investigation we're spinning together right now. And my next meeting is with the director of the FBI. You're my guy. I got to tell him whether you're in or not.
Which year was that?
Oh my God.
This is December in 2000. Oh. So I'm like, he didn't just wake me up. He woke up the FBI director. Like, what am I supposed to say? And he says, are you in or out? And I said, I'm in. And, it's like one of those moments in your life where things align and you got to make an instant leap of faith. Like I knew that undercover operation like this, where, the supervisory special agent for this my entire team is sitting in my house. That's crazy. That doesn't happen ever. And in fact, it never has happened before or since. And I ended up being in the middle of the most serious and unique case the FBI has ever run in its history. They had learned from this task force of FBI and CIA, FBI agents and CIA intelligence officers, analysts, had been recruiting a source in Russia that they thought was going to give them evidence that showed that a target that they were after, that codenamed Gray Deceiver in the CIA, that they'd been after for a long time, was actually the spy that the whole intelligence community had been after for over 22 years, and only known with the codename Gray Suit. So what happens is, in the FBI and in the CIA, in intelligence work, when you know there's a mole, you give them a codename. Every spy gets a codename. And it's literally a machine in the FBI, and it spits out 2 random words. And 22 years before, about 2 decades before 2020, so in the 80s, the machine spits out the name Gray Suit for this legendary spy that no one had been able, careers had broken off this spy. They didn't know where he was or whether it was a he or a she, or FBI, CIA, NSA, where, and the FBI had been going on these crazy wild goose chases trying to find this person. And finally, they latched onto this poor CIA guy named Brian Kelly, who I met after I'd left the FBI. He found me at a keynote, and then finally I was like, "Yeah, I'll chat with you." And they were just adamant that it's him. This is the spy.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get a source from former KGB from Russia who would confirm it for them. And it was this one agent in the FBI who doggedly was going to make this true, because he staked his career on it. But when they recruited the KGB source, who found out the FBI was sniffing around and got it through the channels, because former KGB guys are still really good at this stuff, met with the FBI and the CIA and said, "Yeah, I have a file of information that will lead you to Gray Suit." And they bought it for millions of dollars, and this guy goes into witness protection. So
did they say like 7 million, something like that?
That's like 14. It was like a lot of money. Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
It was back then, and I don't know the exact amount, but I've heard it's around then, because I wasn't part of this. This wasn't my part of the case. This is before I'm brought in. And he gets the choice of schools for his kids, and they all move to the U.S. and they go into witness protection. They knew identities, because Putin, they'd wake up and go to Starbucks and eat a plutonium laced muffin.
Yeah,
that's how it goes when you're a traitor, right?
God.
And so he's gone. They open this file of information, and it's not the CIA guy. It's a cassette tape, a trash bag, and a bunch of letters. And the letters are signed Ramon Garcia. So that didn't really help, although they could do some word analysis and sentence structure analysis on the letters. But the cassette tape is a voice calling to say, "Where's my money?" It was one of Hansen's big mistakes. And they can run prints on a trash bag, and they do, and it's a partial print for Robert Hansen, and their hearts all fell. With the FBI guys. The CIA guys are just like, "Yeah, sucker, we knew it.
We knew it.
Yeah. It's not us."
And Hansen is an FBI agent, right?
But Hansen's not only an FBI agent, he's the top analyst against Russia, and before that, the Soviet Union. And he was the guy that the Gray Suit Squad brought in to give them a list of everyone who could possibly be Gray Suit. And he sent them on years of wild goose chases, completely screwed them. In fact, to the point where when that happened, there were agents who said, "I just found out that my entire career has been for nothing. That for decades I've been in the FBI, and he has been fooling me the entire time, from the inside." And so they needed to, and the other problem is there's this time pressure. Hansen is about to retire. This is December 2000 when they learn about him for the first time, that he is the legendary Gray Suit, and he gets the code name Gray Day.
And they know it for a fact at this point when they come to you?
They're pretty sure, but no, it's not confirmed. They have what would be circumstantial evidence at best with a really good lawyer.
Yeah.
He could say the same thing that I thought was happening to me when Gene showed up at my house. I've been working the Russians my entire life. They're just trying to screw me just before I retire. The timing's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And so not only do they have to build the case, learn that he is the spy, and then catch him, they have to do it right away because he's about to retire. So they create an entire fiction just for Hansen. He's a hacker. He's been this computer specialist his entire career. He's one of their top analysts, and he's used computer systems in a way that the FBI didn't really understand at that point to assist him in a lot of those analytics. For his entire career, he's been saying that we are going to be penetrated by a mole using exploiting our computer systems because we're not defending ourselves. right? He's been just saying what he's been doing. Right.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you're a jerk. Nobody likes you. Shut up. Right. Go retire. And so what they do is they say, we're going to give him his dream job. We're going to put him in charge of building cybersecurity for the FBI. We're going to extend his mandatory retirement. We're going to give him a big bump in pay. We're going to promote him to executive service. In other words, we're going to laud on him all of the promises and desires that his narcissistic personality wanted his whole career at the very end of his career, which is kind of a tell,
Yeah.
So he comes in super suspicious, and then they look around and they're like, so we need a dude who can go in this office with him, who knows how to catch a spy, but also knows how to turn on a computer. And they couldn't find a single trained agent who could do both.
That's where you came in.
And so they went deeper and they went into the ghosts and they found me.
But is that true that after everything happened to him and Robert said he already knew that something is up because all this charade that started happening, that he got promoted, that he got this, and he was like, they definitely knew exactly that it was me.
So the way that I describe
he applied for even a job or something, right?
Yeah, well, the way I describe it in the book is you walk in special ops and in intelligence work, you walk this fine line, right? You balance on this wire between suspicion on this side and paranoia here. And if you're going to operate, you got to stand on that wire and balance perfectly. If you fall too much on the side of suspicion, which is healthy, well, you're not really paying attention. But if you fall over into paranoia, like everybody's following you, everyone's out to get you, and you learn to straddle that line. So what that means is you have to be suspicious, but you can't be paranoid until it's confirmed.
Until it's confirmed.
So his job going into the dream job, and his narcissistic personality wanted, it's kind of like when you guys go after people who are victims of romance fraud, right? And I love those episodes. I watch them, and I have a couple of those in my new book, Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime, of stories about it. But it's that confirmation bias. You really want to believe it's true, so you find ways to actually confirm it's true, as opposed to listening to your better instincts to do the opposite. Like confirm that it's fake, right? Don't keep talking yourself into it. Well, he really wanted it to be true. But what he had to do is find a way to prove the negative. And there was only one point of attack, which is me. So my first job, and they told me this, your first job is don't screw up. Go in there.
And you're his assistant.
Right.
You're supposed to be his assistant, right?
Well, yeah. So it was a weird, I didn't even have a role. They threw me in there so fast that I'm TDY'd when
Go figure it out.
Temporary duty assignment to Robert Hansen at the information assurance section, brand new section of the FBI. And I was like, well, what's my role? What's my cover? What's my legend? We're just going to send you in there. Got to go in as you. Can't give you a legend. Well, a legend is the spy term for the counterintelligence term for an entire backstory, role, name, different identity, passport, ID, everything, so that you don't have to be you when you're undercover, which is typically how you do it, because you really don't want bad guys to learn who you are and that where you live and where your family is.
So how do you introduce yourself to him? You walk in
I'm Eric O'Neill. Because I had to go in as myself, former FBI ghost, right? And because they didn't, he was so adept at using computer systems, they were afraid that he would figure it out, right? Yeah. So I had to be me.
Had to be
Plus, there were some people in FBI headquarters who knew me, and there were people who might come from the Washington field office and just be there. And then the two of us are walking down the hall, and some dude walks up and says, "Hey, Eric," but I'm supposed to be Jim, right? Yeah. Then the case is blown. Shit. So I'd go in as myself, and he does this thing, our first conversation, where he shoves a legal pad over at me and a pen. And he says, "I'm your supervisor, Eric, and I'm going to need you to write down your name and your birthday, your FBI name." So when you go in the FBI, you choose your FBI name, right? Which is forever your name and your records. And it's always 3. It's like, it was Eric M. O'Neill, but it always has to have 3. You can't just be Eric O'Neill, right? Okay. It could have been Eric Michael O'Neill, but I go Eric M. O'Neill, which is my FBI name. So my FBI name, which is your official name, and then he wants my birth date, social security number, my address. And while you're at it, write down you're married, right? Write your wife's name and her birth date and social security number and your parents' name and where they live. And I'm like, holy shit.
You have to give all this real info.
Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And when you're working undercover as part of a team, you get on the radio and you call it to your supervisor and say, bad shit's going down. What do I do? And they help you. You're surrounded. God. But here I realized for the first time, it's just me. There's no one to help me. I can't. I got to make this decision now, and the next decision, and the next decision, and the next decision. And if I make the wrong decision, I'm in a lot of trouble. So I wrote it all down because he's like, "Oh, I'm your supervisor. I need this, for our records." And so I wrote it all down, and then he turns it and he looks at it, and he turns it and he points it back at me, and he says the weirdest thing that he said the entire thing. In fact, he comes up with this law that ended up being the genesis for all my thought leadership and security and cybersecurity. He looks at me as I'm looking at all my information, and he tells me, "I want to tell you about something called Hansen's Law." Hansen's Law, what's that? I mean, it sounds good. I'm like, the little, recorder in my brain is going, I got to get this to the analyst. The dude named a law about himself. And he says, Hansen's Law is this. I was like, okay. He says, the spy is in the worst possible place. And I about shit myself because I'm sitting here across from Robert Hansen, who we think is gray suit. At that point, they didn't tell me that, but we think he's a spy. I'm going undercover to catch him. And on day one, our first conversation, he says the spy is in the worst possible place.
Calling you out.
One thing about working undercover is you learn to control your body. Every single reaction, because you don't know whether you're going to go around a corner and there's your target coming the other way because they did a UE, right? To screw with you. And you got to not recognize, you just keep going like any normal person was. Not a tick, not an eye twitch, not anything. And I didn't make a move. I just looked right back at him when he said that. And I said, that's curious. Like, we didn't learn that in Quantico. Like, what is that? And I think he was probably testing me, looking for tells, trying to see how he reacted. Do I sweat? Do I freak out? Do I do one of these kind of things? Right. And I didn't. And I just looked cool as a cucumber. I was sweating all down my back. I look at him and I'm like, what does that mean? And he says, I call it Hansen's Law. It's this: the spy is in the worst possible place. He's that person that has access to the information that is going to do the most damage and the knowledge and the wherewithal to get it into the hands of those who are going to pay him the most for it. And that, Eric, is what we are here in the FBI to protect against. If you want to be a counterintelligence agent, you need to be able to always find the spy in the worst possible place. And I'm sitting there like, okay, dude, game on. Like, you're the spy in the worst possible place. I don't know if you're screwing with me, you're trying to see my reaction, or you're challenging me, or maybe all three. But I realized at that moment that we were in a game of chess, and like, one person was going to win and one person was going to either go to jail forever or die.
And it was one of those suspected you?
Of course he did.
Oh, at that point,
absolutely.
Already. But that my question is, when I read his whole story, he became so fucking sloppy through all of the years, to the point that when he got caught, did he say, what took you so long?
He did. He said, the first thing he said is the guns are not necessary. And then he gives it a heartbeat with his trademark smirk. And he says, what took you so long? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Another question is, it's been several complaints that led that he's a spy through decades.
Yes.
And it's always been shut down. Why he never got considered that he could be the mole?
So the FBI had a lot of bias in that they couldn't believe it was us. It was always the NSA. It was always the CIA. It was always someone else. It's definitely not us. I mean, he was a decorated FBI agent. Now, he was kind of a jerk. He had severe problems managing people, but he was a brilliant analyst. And he was a very good spy hunter. And he was a crack analyst on the Russia desk. And of course, everything he was learning, he was passing to the Russians. And they were being very clever about making sure that they never revealed the identity of their mole, even though they didn't even know who he was or where he was.
But he went in person to the embassy.
He did.
Approached the blue person on the fucking parking lot.
Yes, he approached and it was actually called in and nobody followed up on it.
Yes.
And nobody believed
that
it.
That was the biggest. He got so fucking reckless.
And he did that the day after his father died. And I think at that point, and I think he was so emotional and he broke control and he broke protocol.
Yes.
And I think at that point he might have wanted to get caught. And then he didn't. And he just felt like, I'm untouchable.
Yes.
Like there was a point where he was caught installing a keylogger on a computer. And they caught him. They're like, what the hell is this?
What are you doing? Yes.
And he said, I needed the password so I could install a printer. And going through IT just takes too long.
Oh my God.
He was also caught
red-handed. And they called him.
Yeah.
And he still got away.
Right. And they didn't even they didn't file the complaint. It never made it into his personal record. He was caught pulling Ethernet out of the ceiling, through the drop ceiling, to try to get his own internet connection external from the FBI. And he's like, well, it's inefficient. Like everything's inefficient. I'm trying to build efficiency, right? And it goes on and on. He spent all day searching himself on the FBI's automated case system, which is the system that tracks all open cases in the FBI. And he taught me this. He's like, look, here's how you could spy. I'm like, oh, this is good too. and he says, it's amazing. If you want to be a spy, Eric, this is what you do. We all have access to ACS. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, go ahead and just enter names of targets, of Russians that you think might be targets. And of course, I knew all of them, but I wasn't going to tell them. Right. I pretended like all I ever did was counterterrorism. This counterintelligence stuff is, something I'm learning, boss, teach me, right? And he said, all you got to do is enter the names of the Russians or Chinese or whoever you want to spy for. And if you don't have access to the record, it'll still return a record, but with stars covering everything, right? Which is just a stupid flaw in ACS. Uh-huh. So if you want to be a spy, just go and put all the names that the service you're working for wants you to run. And if you see stars, then in your next drop, you tell them, yes, all these people are under open investigations. You can't get the details, but you can make a lot of money just doing that. And I'm thinking like, this is what this guy probably started doing.
Insane.
Is that true that all this money that he was getting from KGB, from Russians, he blew up a lot of money. He had sex addiction. He had some strippers, and particularly one stripper that he was like fell in love. And also he was streaming, having sex with his wife to his buddy.
Well, he was a prolific, he would write fan fiction about sex with his wife and post it on online forums.
He was on forums.
And that was all downloadable and really embarrassed her. And I feel terrible for her family. But he also, what I heard was he would have his best friend come and visit, and then he'd have his friend climb up on the roof and watch them through a skylight. And at one point, this dude like slipped. I guess he got too excited. And the wife like looked up like, what is that? And Hansen thought that's too dangerous. So he ran a CCTV camera from his bedroom with a camera into the guest room where the TV, and you would open a cupboard and there was a TV. And if you switch the right channel, you could see what's happening in the bedroom. And there was some who thought that he was kind of grooming her to maybe move into a threesome later and with his best friend. So it was, I mean, that side of his, and there was certainly stuff like that I could see. He could get very close. There are pictures that, and I published, I do this newsletter every week, and it's called Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime. It's sort of like, it keeps the book alive, so I can keep talking about things that keep progressing.
And please say where people can subscribe
it's at my website's ericoneal.net.
We'll have all the links.
If you go ericoneal.net/newsletter, you get right on the newsletter. You can subscribe. It's free. I don't charge for it, and it's just once a week. And I don't sell the information. I do it just because it's a community of people who want to be safe. Mm-hmm. But I did a newsletter all on Hansen. I've done a few. And we're shooting this in February, right? And in a few days, in February 18th, is the 25th year anniversary of Hansen's arrest. So, this is like a really good time to be doing this, right?
And then your birthday's coming in March.
And in one of those anniversaries, I did a letter to Hansen that I'll never get to send. It was what I would have asked him if I could have got that meeting with him. But I also did a newsletter about Hansen, about what it was like to be in the office with him. And I published an actual picture of the inside of my office. And people were asking, and I realized something about it was, if you look at my desk in that picture, if you go back, and I can't remember which issue it is, but if you look at that picture, the real life picture, you see that my desk is surrounded by every desk chair from the office and a bunch that I pulled in. And I've got my back to the wall, and you can't get around. I created this barrier so you couldn't get around, because what he would do is, and the dude moved silent like a ninja. So you'd be working, and suddenly like he had his hands on your shoulder and he's leaning over your back, right? He get very touchy, and it was a power thing.
Yeah.
But I created a workspace that made it impossible for him to get behind me, because I was so tired of that.
We got to grab the photo and put that in.
Yes, I'll definitely get it to you.
Holy crap.
What is okay, so we we know about all his life, right? About his sex addiction, about everything, about spying. And he loved America. He always said, like, listen, I love my country. I just did this for money. He always been very transparent about this. So question for you, when you work with this kind of animal, with this kind of magnitude, personality, did he mix his personal life with you? Or it's always been strictly professional?
Well, the movie, so if you watch the movie Breach, the fiction of that movie, which is a Hollywood movie, is the overly dramatized connection between our families. That was not true. It was all me and Hanson. But he did extend it out of the office because we go to church together. So he would bring me to church with him, and I'm a Catholic, which is another reason I was picked. I mean, if you look at it, if you go back and you really look, it's like I was designed to go undercover to catch Hanson.
God,
we're both Catholic. I was in law school while I was working at the FBI, going nights at GW. His oldest son was near my age and was in law school, right? So that was a connection. You know, the background in computers and hacking. And his father was in the Navy and then law enforcement. My father was in the Navy. His mother was a nurse named Vivian. My mother's a nurse named Vivian. Like, it was crazy. Like, and the FBI is good at this.
Perfect storm,
right?
huh?
Now, they didn't tell me any of this.
Yeah.
I learned this all later. But the fact that I was a practicing Catholic was critical. He would have had no respect for me if I'd been even Protestant. Right. And so where I first began moving from this horrible situation where he was a terrible boss that was borderline abusive or abusive.
He was.
Absolutely. To where...
verbally or physically?
Verbally and, you know, the sort of like creepy. All the physical things, he was very touchy-feely. To make me incredibly uncomfortable. And I think maybe to see, does he go to, you know, the FBI's version of HR, right?
Did I have that?
But yeah, sure. And normally, yeah, I would. But I'm like, and I would have this conversation with the squad running me. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what does he expect me to do? You know,
how? Sorry, no.
Well, please. I was just going to say that, you know, at the end of the day, I gained his trust. Getting back to it, I gained his trust by going to church with him when he really saw, okay, this guy is a Catholic. You know, like, I remember the first day we walked over to the Catholic Information Center. It was on K Street, right around the corner from FBI HQ. And I thought he was just taking me to a bookstore. I never heard of this place. And then, you know, we're looking at books and he's like, you should look at this. And he buys me a book. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And then these two huge freaking oak panel doors open and there's this whole chapel. And he's like, we're going to church. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm out of going Sunday. And man, they got to the Our Father and, you know, Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And he looks right at me. He's just staring at me as I'm saying, I'm like, oh, I got this.
Oh my God.
I'm not letting Sister Rose from kindergarten down. And yeah, but that was, I remember after that day, that first time we went many times, walking back to the FBI was the first time he really opened up to me as a person, right? And was real. And I thought at that moment was the first time I felt confidence in the entire case.
How long was that after you had started with him?
It was weeks into it.
Wow.
Yeah, of me bumbling and just trying to find a way to get him to tell me something because I couldn't catch him unless he told me something. I needed to know where to hunt, where to point.
I guess it's a two-part question. Did you ever doubt it was him?
There was a point, yes, that I went to Kate, who was in the movie, named Kate, different name, who was the special agent whose job was to make sure that I didn't screw up.
Is that Laura Linney's character?
That's Laura Linney's character. Okay. Right. Kate, you know, her real name is Kate Alleman. I asked everybody the names for the book.
Yeah.
She is an incredible person and brilliant in understanding right away. I mean, a spy hunter, right? But a brilliant study of people and understood right away how to get the most out of me. It knew right away that if, you know, I was pushed, I would push back. That's sort of my personality. But if I was guided and I was shown the path, I would find it, right? And just instantly understood me. You know, she would call me like little brother, and there was this bond between us. And I knew that was the only person I had. It was Kate, and it was a section chief that was on the same floor, on 9th floor, room 9930 of FBI headquarters, named Rich Garcia, who was the only other person I knew in headquarters who knew anything that this case was even being run. Like almost nobody knew other than the director and Rich.
Yeah.
Everything was run out of the field office by this tiny little group of agents. And it got bigger as we started learning information. And Rich was there because one, you couldn't set this up without him. He ran operations for FBI headquarters. So two, he was where I would run if everything went south. Right. And this dude walked around like heavily armed.
Oh my God.
Like he was just ready. I would go by and Hanson would go off to do something. I'd go by Rich's office just to shoot the shit. And he'd be like, I'm telling you, Eric, if anything goes wrong, you just run in here. If he tries to come in after you, I will lay him out. It'll be over for him. I'll put a bullet in every part. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So, those two, but I was getting my marching orders from her and also, she was the person I could go talk to and ask like questions and keep me engaged in the case.
So to go with that question then, as you started to learn more, how do you taper that anger you probably felt? You wanted to serve your country from being a child, and you're now spending a lot of personal time with this man who you have to pretend to idolize, but is betraying the country. Yeah. You probably want to reach out and strangle him.
Well, it's interesting. So to get back to that original question, was there a time I wanted to get out? I did. Was there a time that I thought this isn't the guy? There was. Like I wasn't finding anything. And I was brought into the case told we suspect him of espionage and we need you to go undercover to see if you can find that information. Essentially, it was 1, don't screw up. 2, determine for us that he is the spy we're after. And 3, find us a smoking gun. Mm-hmm. I mean, all that's impossible. It doesn't happen, right? Yeah. I was thrown into an impossible investigation from the start. I was too young and dumb to even know how impossible it was. I mean, looking back, I was thinking they really did throw me into a meat grinder, and poor Kate was just trying to keep me on my feet. There was a point where I said, I'm not finding anything. This is disrupting my life. I'm a straight A student who just got a C in law school in corporations, and I went on to be a corporate attorney. I just need to be off of this. And she sat me down. She's like, "There's no way. You can't. Like you're in it. You're finding things, but
until the end."
And then she took me in and they showed me things. They showed me the letters, and it just reinvigorated me. I went from I'm going to determine whether this is the guy to I'm catching him, and it was because of me. I had he left for the day to go on the March for Life in Washington D.C. Mm-hmm. The pro-life march that happens once a year, and he disappears, and he left his briefcase behind. He never left his briefcase. And I wasn't supposed to search his office. There are search protocols, and they're very complicated. And there are people who are trained to search. And so that someone like Hanson, who's trained to detect searches,
being searched,
right?
Yeah.
But I saw his bag, and I was just like, F it.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know what was going on in my head that day. Maybe I had a fight with my wife or something. I was like, I'm just going to search that sucker. So I did. And I found a data card, and I was like, we need to look at what's on here. And
what is that? Is that just like a hard drive?
Transcripted?
It's just a, like now we would call it a thumb drive, but it was actually like a SanDisk flat data card. You slide it into a data reader. Yeah, we're like old school tech.
Yeah. And him being a programmer, hacker.
Yeah, and I was like, we should this is interesting. And they ran and they pulled the information off the data card, and it was letters written by Ramon Garcia. And they were like, but they didn't tell me what they found, right? And so after that conversation with Kate, she showed me what they found, and I read this stuff, and I was like, they're like, we have a high degree of confidence that this is the spy we're after. And so it went for me from this is a guy we suspect of espionage to this is the guy.
How did you get the
They
card?
energize you. They literally energize you.
I was like, I'm not just hunting a spy. I'm hunting the most legendary spy
How did
in
you
American
get them
history.
The card and back in his briefcase. Like, did you just?
I called the squad, and like they
came in.
Kate rolled over and grabbed
like
it, and like they got a tech team spun up, and they copied that.
Took a copy and then put it back in the briefcase.
And I got it back, but he was gone, and like he's gone. We knew where he was. We had him in pocket every time he left. Yeah,
somebody was.
So we knew how long we had,
right?
And that was the first win, and it doesn't make it into the movie Breach because I couldn't talk about it.
Oh,
but it's in my book.
You weren't allowed to search?
Yeah, it's in my first book. No, I couldn't talk about it because it wasn't in any of the information that had been published.
Got it.
Right. And so when I wrote my book, normally a movie comes after a book. When I wrote my book, pre-publication were the first to, and I put it all in there. I even put the photos in the manuscript that I sent to them for pre-publication review. It was a little clever. I'm a lawyer. I put all the photos that I wanted to use in like PowerPoints and stuff later. And they approved the whole manuscript.
That's
and I'm
great.
like, they approved the photos.
Oh, that's amazing.
Whether they knew it or not. But
couple hours? How long did it take? Like put it together?
Like you knew you'd be gone all day, so probably, I mean...
Yeah, it took them like minutes to just download the thing. They didn't have to review it. They just had to download it and I had to get it back. And I got in a lot of trouble. I got in a lot of trouble.
But it helped.
But then it was a win.
But also you have to remember the way you place it. So when he opened his briefcase, he would not notice that somebody went through his stuff.
Yes. Well, no, a team was brought in and like everybody was mad at me, but I wanted to win. I mean,
sometimes you have to break some law.
I've got this mentality where I just want to succeed and win. Like win. Just maybe it comes back from growing up with ADHD and the mastering it, but you want to get to the end of the level. You want to complete, right? And
how long in total from day one with him until he was arrested was that time period?
It was just under 3 months.
So you were only working as his assistant for that short of time.
Yeah, I like to say.
It felt like years,
It does.
Once I got to the point where I was able to own my part in this, and it took me a while to really admit to myself that I did this, right? I don't know what was going on in my mind or the psychology behind it, but once I got around to that, I'm fine saying it took the FBI 22 years to even learn he was the bad guy, and it took me a little over 2 months to catch him.
Was there ever a moment you were like something slipped, or there was a moment where you were almost outed to him? That
there was a moment. There was
dropped?
A bad mistake I made. Early, because I had to remember everything he said. There was tech in there, but it didn't work. They'd buried it too far into the drywall or whatever. That place, there was so much radiation just hitting us every day with all the tech in that room that they built into it. But the microphones didn't pick up anything. And I just thought that everything he said was getting recorded. And then, Kate with one of the debriefs said, we can't hear anything. You've got to remember everything and write it down.
Oh my God.
So my life became, I would finish. And then Kate would pick me up at FBI headquarters after he left and he was in pocket. She'd drive me over to GW Law, which was, maybe like 7 blocks away. We'd debrief on the way there. And then, 4 nights out of 5, she would pick me up after 2 hours of law class and like take me back to the office for more debriefs or to speak with the squad or to do a search because I had to be there for chain of custody for everything. And so then I finally get home really late at night, have to make some excuse to my wife why I was late at night again, right? And then...
But you can't lie to her.
She would, I could when I was working. And she needed to, she's an early to bed and she was in school too. And so I would tuck her in and then sneak out of bed and open this hidden laptop and type up my log for the day, and then save that on a floppy disk and then maybe get 3 hours of sleep.
Oh my God.
So I had to remember everything. So what I was doing was I was writing things down on a Post-it note. It was just so stupid, right? But I just like, if it was like Hanson's Law, a spy isn't worse, right? Writing it down on a Post-it note in my desk drawer, right?
Oh no.
And then, I was hands in the desk drawer, just sort of writing something, and I look up and there he is. He's leaning right over my desk. And he...
Your hands in the drawer, right?
The hands are in the drawer.
And he catches you.
He doesn't know what I'm doing. My hands are in the drawer, the front door, these old, wooden freaking government desks, massive monstrosity. And he, when you see the picture, you'll see. And he leans over, he's like, what are you doing? And I just looked at him. I didn't know what to say. And he's like, what are you doing in there? And I just, in my head, I'm like, I pull out a book and it's The Bear and the Dragon by Tom Clancy, which is about like hunting Russian spies. And I pulled the book out and I slapped it up on the desk and I said, yeah, boss, I was reading. And, but it's Tom Clancy. It's like reading for our job, right? We're trying to catch cyber spies. I figured like it was homework. And he looks at me and he goes, when you're here, you're on the clock. You are not to be reading for fun. You are not to be doing your law work. You are to be doing the business of building the information.
He bought it.
He bought it.
He bought it.
He bought it. A boss like this?
Oh my God.
And it kind of worked out for me because He must have thought this asshole's sitting here just reading a book. He can't be
just
trying to catch me. He's some dumb kid they threw in here, right? And and I he went back in his office and I grabbed the Post-it notes, like the bundle of them, and I ran over to the bathroom and I think like tore them up and threw them in the toilet and then like threw up on them and then
well, what if he had looked in there?
This is it.
That would have been it.
Yeah, game.
Yeah.
Is over. You were that close to blow up
blowing the entire. I mean, a multi-million-dollar case.
What would have happened? Like something like that.
He would not kill you, obviously.
No, it's certainly possible. If he decided that he was under investigation, that I was here to catch him, that it was over. I mean, he had the death penalty every way, past Sunday, and there were, I think, 4 different ways that they could have brought the death penalty based on his crimes. And if he realized that this is a trap and I'm in it, he could have shot me.
He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, right. He has nothing to lose.
And I will take myself.
And he was an angry guy with a serious temper.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He was, huh?
Yeah. He would have never shot himself. But shooting me, he has nothing to lose.
And he probably has the resources to hide it.
Well, he would have just look. I had found early in another one of those searches that I did that I wasn't supposed to do. I'd found a passport that the Russians had given him and a fake ticket, open ticket to Moscow. So he was prepared, or that he had gotten somehow. So he had an identity. He had a legend. He could have cut and run. And maybe he shoots me, and my corpse is sitting there. Nobody would have been the wiser for a long time. Until someone had gone and checked, but nobody was checking because no one was allowed to go in there. So who knows how long I would have sat around. My wife wouldn't even known who to call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have like
Holy
random
shit.
question. Me growing up in Soviet Union and now being here, like Ashen knows, my body and my soul born in 2 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
My soul always pro-American. My body ended up being in Soviet Union, and coming to America, finally it's clicked. But growing up with all these Soviet Union bastards, right? Like America, the bad guys, fuck FBI,
Yeah.
Everything is bad, right? I want to hear your perspective about GRU,
Mm-hmm.
KGB, when you deal with so many years and coming especially with background when you came from. There is a saying, at least in my language, that when compliment is due, even it's your enemy, you give that compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
What the pluses and minuses about Russian KGBs and the way they deal with the business?
For traditional espionage tradecraft, the Russians are the best of the best, and we would learn. We'd cut our teeth as new undercover operatives chasing Russians. You don't want to learn how to do this chasing terrorists. Like, they'll blow you up. Like Russians, they might spit on your car or give you the finger if they spot you. And then, you've got to be cycled into some other team. You can't work that guy again, right? But they are excellent at what they do. Now, the good news is that nobody's better than us. In the world of spy versus spy and hunting, the ghosts are the premier in the world. And I'm not just saying that because I was one. I'm saying it because that's the training, and there's a lot of it. Like in the UK, the MI5 has their watchers. They're really good, and the ghosts were kind of born out of that. But we're a dedicated team. So we were very good at hunting Russians, and we would give them the worst headaches ever. They were miserable. But KGB was just, for example, being able to recruit spies, they never recruited Hansen. He was a volunteer, but like Aldrich Ames, for example, if you look at history, it turns out that during the height of the Cold War, one of the most serious years of the Cold War. My wife's funny. She actually grew up East German. So she grew up behind the wall, dealing with Russians.
Right.
And probably a lot of the same circumstances that you grew up with. But if you look at the way that the tradecraft is deployed, it was exceptional. And during 84 and 85, because of Hansen and Aldrich Ames, which we call the year of the spy, we lost every single asset in the Soviet Union. All of our spies were just, within the course of that year, it's kind of like halfway between the years, rounded up and either executed or pressed into hard labor, and we were completely blind. We had lost the intelligence game, and most people don't know about that history. We were losing. completely losing. We outspent the Russians, and that's how we won. But in the world of intelligence, because of Hansen and Ames, we were losing.
Oh my God.
This is also crazy to learn that Robert, he's the one to give information to Russians that under Russian embassy in America,
yes,
there is a fucking tunnel. Like, FBI did this?
So the FBI and the NSA, the FBI and the NSA got together and clandestinely from a neighboring house, they dug a tunnel under the Russian embassy. And at the end of that tunnel, they put a listening device and they could hear everything they were saying in there. The problem is even before they finished the tunnel, Hansen had given it up.
It's already
that very expensive, long-term, extraordinary, incredible operation. And so, like put on your intelligence officer hat. If they know that we don't know that they know that we've got a super secret tunnel and we're listening to everything they're saying, right? What can they do?
Oh my God.
They give us disinformation. They use it against us. They use our incredible operational expertise against us. So we think we're getting actionable intelligence, and what we're getting is garbage that throws us off the trail, until finally
For how long
it was
you guys,
disavowed.
When did you guys learn that?
I don't know. It was before my time, but it was it was a really expensive career building operation that turned out to be complete garbage. Yeah.
What?
And there were others.
Every time I could listen to you tell stories for days, but I feel like I'm watching a movie. Like it's like it came from a movie script, and then you're like,
yeah, really.
Like it's the opposite.
Well, I think that like the reason that I write so much in nonfiction is because those things that are outrageous but are real tend to be the most compelling stories because in your mind you're listening to this insane story and you realize, good Lord, this is real. This really happened. This stuff happens. In the world of spy versus spy, it's why people love espionage and spy movies.
Well, speaking of movies, what are some of your either favorite or least favorite or most accurate or least accurate spy movies?
Yeah, spy movies in general. Here are two. Breach is the best.
Okay, yes, I figured.
I'm watching this tonight.
Yes.
Here's a great movie that goes back. I watched it with my wife and we both loved it. And because she grew up in it, I know it's really accurate. It's The Lives of Others.
Okay.
It's a German spy movie, and it's about it's about the Stasi and a Stasi agent who is watching a potential target. Is someone who might not be following the party, the DDR, and falls in love with her. And it's sort of this Romeo and Juliet story in the height of the Cold War,
two different sides.
Behind the wall in Berlin. And it's just a brilliant, brilliant spy story. And it's just right. It's exactly right. It's how this stuff happens.
And,
so yeah.
And how funny that we're going to Berlin. Today's Tuesday or Wednesday?
Today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Tuesday next week. We're flying to Berlin.
Yeah, because you should watch that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one? The one that you watched and you're like, oh, what a crap. What a pile of crap.
Oh, God. I love spy movies, and I love even some of the craziest ones. Like I'm a huge fan of 24, and I wish we could do a lot of the stuff, like especially in counterterrorism that Jack Bauer does. Like he just murders and kills people. Like it'd be so great to just make the bad guys disappear and not have to worry about like law or legal things. But I think that I'm a huge James Bond fan. But a lot of those movies are just crazy. Yeah. Like that stuff doesn't exist.
It's the spy tech a little.
And without like naming a movie, like some of the things that like totally take me out of a movie are like I'm tracking a target and they go around a corner and I task satellites to spot them. Now, is that possible? Yes. Is like some FBI guy chasing a bad guy able to task us? No, absolutely no.
Yeah.
That would require enormous amounts of time, planning, and money. Lots and lots and lots of money.
Your favorite James Bond through all time?
I'm a huge Sean Connery fan.
I knew it, dude.
Yes. I think that those are the vintage, awesome James Bond when James Bond was just a man's man. And that real, true, old school Bond. I'm kind of being put off by some of the new James Bond movies. The last one I fell asleep.
I haven't watched the last couple.
They're just so long now, and they drag.
I think the last really great one was Casino Royale, right?
Casino Royale was good.
Yeah, Casino Royale was good.
Do you have? And I'm not asking for specifics because I'm sure you can't give any, but just in general, having worked in such a secret facet of the world, are there things that you know that you can never say that just weigh on you and
Yes.
you can never tell anybody?
Yeah, and I do say in my first book, Gray Day, I talk about the weight that you carry when you do this. Because when you're in the FBI, you're on a team and you can talk about these things that are ultra classified with your peers that have the same clearance and are working the same place.
Yeah.
But once you're out, you lose a lot of those relationships because you start forgetting what you can and can't talk about, and then it's easier just not to talk. And that can feel like getting kicked out of your family. And it's hard.
Can you tell a therapist, or is it even that?
No. Oh God, no. No. I get arrested doing that. Yeah, no, you just hold it and you internalize it, and it just becomes a weight you carry, and that's part of the job.
You have to carry to the grave,
to the grave.
That led me to another question. Why did you leave? Right after everything, you in such a peak of your career.
Yeah,
like you, the man who saved America. We now believe in FBI. Everything good. Yeah. Why did you leave?
Well, you're being very kind. I was part of a team. It wasn't just me. I just was the person that was in the room with Hansen. I couldn't have done it without the analysts and agents and everybody who were basically giving my marching orders. Even when I was undercover, I was like a weapon you point at a target. Yeah. But all of the work to find out who's the target, where are they going to be, when are we going to deploy this team, that had to happen by people who were doing all that dedicated work. So it's important that people know it wasn't just me. They didn't just say, Eric, go catch them. And I was like, I've come up with the plan myself. No. I had marching orders. There was a whole system behind me. But why did I leave? It was here's the word, invasive case. It burned me out. It took a lot to do that, to carry a lie like that. And people might say, well, you're only in there like a little under 3 months, but that's a long time to put a mask on and work against one of actually the top spy, certainly one of the most damaging in U.S. history, but a master at what he did. Even with all his sloppiness, most of that sloppiness was because he realized he was untouchable. He was just getting away with it because no one was looking. And win every day. And I couldn't lose once. Not one hand of poker, right? Mm-hmm. I had to win every single day, every single moment. And that is a burden. My marriage was suffering. She had it with me at that point. Yeah.
No kids at that point, right? It wasn't.
No kids. Oh God, no, I couldn't have done that. And I think it was the future of having children. I was like, I can't keep doing this. Yeah. And I also realized, maybe a bit perversely, that I found a skill. I was thrown into a situation that unearthed in me a skill maybe I never would have found. Like this ability to go face to face with a target and completely school even a master spy and win. Like I wasn't going to be happy ghosting targets on the street anymore and field ops. I needed to go undercover. And when you do undercover work, that means you're away from your family for a time. You go embed in terrorist groups and in mob groups and in different groups like that. And that wasn't going to be good for having a family. So I decided I think it's time to get out. The other thing I learned many years after, and I think as I was writing my first book and really laying all of my thoughts and feelings on a page, I knew the FBI was going to read first. So I didn't hold anything back. I realized I had PTSD. I had suffered post-traumatic stress from, in particular, this part of the investigation where I stole his Palm Pilot. That was the smoking gun. That's how we won. And had no idea whether I got it back in the right pocket. I had only moments to decide. And then, he's coming back. The whole operation kind of fell apart. And I ran back to my desk and I got there seconds before he comes back in the room. And he goes into his office, slams the door, opens his bag. I hear the zip. I know he's looking for that Palm Pilot. And he comes back out, leans over my desk, and he says, "Were you in my office?" And at that moment, I thought, I am going to die.
What the hell?
Yeah, I knew it. I was certain. I was 100% certain.
And this is after the forget what you called it,
the Palm Pilot. Yeah. So a Palm Pilot, for everybody who's not Gen
No, I know
X
what that
older,
is. I just mean like you told the story
not a lot of your audience might not know. Sure. A Palm Pilot is PDA, personal data assistant.
You called that this
data, clunky thing.
Data disk. Yeah. That came before, right?
The data disk before, but when I stole the data disk, Palm Pilot, floppy disk, like anything that can store data, I grabbed all that stuff, ran down 3 flights of stairs where we had a tech team ready. And while this is happening, the pretext was that section chief Rich Garcia, he and I and Kate put this together. And an assistant director that we knew Hansen hated came in unannounced, stopped $20 on his desk and challenged him to go down to the basement shooting range, 10 floors down, and go shoot. And
That's brilliant.
And he leaves, and because he was so thrown off, he didn't grab his Palm Pilot out of his bag. He broke his routine. And I'm real excited because I'm sitting in his office and they leave, and I wait until he's down there shooting. I go into his office, I go into his bag, I find the Palm, data card, floppy disk, all this crap. I grab it all and then run down to the tech team. And as they're copying it all, which he had encrypted, he unloads at his target, brings it back, great little grouping in the center of the target, holsters his firearm, abruptly leaves. Because he probably thought, I don't have my Palm Pilot, and do I really trust Eric? Oh. And he's coming back. And I'm telling these guys, like, I just got texted by my asset down there. He's coming back. I got to get this there. And they're like, don't worry. We're almost done. I'm like, you don't understand. Oh, God. He's armed and angry. I'm not. He's going to kill me.
Oh, shit.
And I got it back. I got it there. And I kneel in front of the bag. And I realized, like, I was so excited about the fact that finally he didn't take this thing. I'd opened 4 pockets. They're all identical. And I can't remember what I pulled it all out of.
Oh,
all I could remember is the Palm Pilot was in the same pocket as the floppy disk. But
which pocket?
Which pocket? And as I'm trying to do this mental calculation, he's coming into
he walks in.
He's coming into the main area, and I hear this big door, like all the things he had to do to open it. And so I just dropped, I think it was like I just dropped 3, best guess, zipped all 4 pockets up, might have done the sign of the cross, ran to my desk, God. Praying, sat there, like threw the wince off my face, just started typing something like, oh, there's nothing to see here. He storms through the main area of the office, glares at me, rolls into his office, slams the shit out of his door. Like he's certainly agitated. And as I'm sitting there, I just hear the telltale zip, just 1 pocket, right? I know he's looking for that Palm Pilot because I bet everything that that's where the data is we're looking for that's going to catch him. And I remember in that moment thinking, I gotta run. Like Rich Garcia's down there. Like even if he isn't, I could go hide in his office. Like
oh my God, like fascinating sitting over there.
And I gotta go. And I'm thinking like, but if I'm not here, remember that analogy, the high wire, like paranoia and suspicion. He's gotta be in there, just falling off on the side of suspicion, paranoia. And if I'm not here to set this right, it's over.
Yeah.
He's going to run, and we're going to get him for conspiracy to commit espionage or whatever, but we're not going to get him at that last drop and put the nail in his coffin. And I will have failed, and I'll never be able to face anyone in the FBI again. And my career will be over.
All these thoughts in his
and I'm thinking I gotta stay here.
So he
and
comes
then
back
in my
out.
mental calculation, this is all, how your life flashes in front of your eyes and a million things happen in a second. It all happened in a second. Adrenaline's that
you
incredible.
Want to go and then
God.
You got this. You
and then
stay,
I thought,
right?
what am I gonna say? And I'm spinning all these things in my head, and they're all popping in my head. Like I tripped over your bag, and it popped open, and I shoved everything back. I think that's what I was gonna go with. But he rolls in, and he leans over my desk, and he just glares at me. And he holds that glare, right? And I'm
freaking creep.
Yeah. And I think I might have looked back at him, and I did what you would expect him to do. I'm like, what?
What's up? Yeah.
Yeah. And he says,
what's up?
And he says, were you in my office? And I was like, yeah, I went in your office. I put a memo in your inbox. Didn't you see it? And I was in your office when you left to go shoot. Hey, did you win? Right? And he just looks at me and he holds it. And if you ever want to know how I felt, next time you go in a crowded elevator and you're the last one in, instead of turning around with your nose to the doors like everybody does politely,
just look at everybody.
Look at everyone.
Oh.
Just look at them. And they will all inch back like a bunch of sheep, right? Like a hive mind. They'll all
see that.
They will all pop back an inch. It's uncanny. It's amazing. I do it all the time. That's how I felt.
That you ride elevator with you.
But I didn't want to show that. So I just held it, man. And I was thinking to myself, now's the moment I die. Here it comes. And then I thought,
shit your pants.
And then I thought to myself,
that's what you
dude, just get it over with. I'm so tired. I don't even care anymore. And he just says, and then he looks at me and he says, I never want you in my office again. And he leaves for the day. And it was less than 2 weeks later, he parks his car on a Sunday at Foxstone Park right after dropping off his best friend at the airport at Dulles Airport at a park called Foxstone Park in Vienna, Virginia, which is right around the corner from his house. It's very close. And he walks on this trail. It's February 18th, the Sunday before President's Day. And he's and it's freezing, bitterly cold in DC, and his breath is frosting. And he goes into the park and he stands on the footbridge and he looks around, and because autumn's taking the leaves from the trees and it's all skeleton branches, he can see that the whole park is empty. He stands there on the bridge, and when he feels safe, he reaches in his sport coat. He pulls out a package. It's like about that big. It's wrapped in trash bags and packing tape, the way he's done this for 22 years. He slides it under the bridge. He gets back up on the bridge and he knocks the dirt off his shoes and smiles to himself. And he's just loaded his final drop to the Russians after 22 years of doing this. And a few nights later, he's going to go and pick up $50,000 from a drop site that the Russian intelligence officer will leave for him after picking up his secrets, and cash out and be done. And then take a job, retire with his full pension, and take a job at a cybersecurity company.
He applied for a job.
Oh yeah, he took me to the interviews, and
what a psycho, dude! What a psycho!
And as he's retracing his steps to his car, these vans screech to a halt. FBI agents jump out to point the guns at him. They catch him, and that's when he says, he puts his hands up, drops his keys. He says, "Guns are not necessary," and then he says, "What took you so long?" And then they just put his face into the ground.
Oh
yeah,
20 years. Dude.
You of course didn't get to be present.
No, I wasn't there. No. But they called me right after he was arrested because we didn't know if he'd show up. And I didn't know that weekend, which was a 3-day weekend, whether they're going to go with the plan A, which was arrest him right after he makes a drop, and I was adamant that you should not do that. He's a narcissist. He's going to get angry. Mm-hmm. You're going to make him want to lawyer up. You're not going to make him want to cooperate. My plan, what I advocated for, was on Tuesday, I will set up a pretext to go visit the Office of Science and Technology at Quantico, which would be like if there was a James Bond Q division, it's there. You can go and say, I've got this crazy idea for an undercover op and I need you to build this for me. And they're like, okay. And they build it, right? I can't even talk to you about the stuff that they build. It was just cool, crazy crap.
Wow.
And if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. But that was like their James Bond division. And we were going to go visit, and I had set it up with him and tour and look at their cybersecurity and how they protect information. And what I was going to do is drive to the center of a parking lot and then stop the car, and he would be surprised, and just without saying a word, take the keys, walk away. And then an older agent that he trusted would drive up, 69 the car, get out, get in to the driver's seat, sit next to him, look at him, shake his hand and say, "We got you, Bob." And I thought that would appeal to his narcissism. And he would have just, I felt like at that moment, he would have just said, "Here's how I did it." Right. And we wouldn't have to deal with all the nonsense.
But they didn't do that.
All these careers fell apart because the FBI had been saying that it's in the CIA, and it turned out it was the FBI. So they just really wanted that public arrest in his neighborhood, and take him down right there.
How did they know?
So I didn't know whether I was going to be in work on Tuesday or not.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did they know where the drop was going to be?
Because the Palm Pilot is a digital calendar. Yeah. And he scheduled all his drops on it.
Oh.
And they knew that was his final one. Like that was planned to be his final one.
He was going to retire. And in his final drop, he dropped my name, my information, my birthday, my social security number, with a little note that I was the perfect person to recruit. And he had been grooming me to take over. Now, for a long time, I felt flattered. Like, this dude thought so highly of me
to recommend you to the Russians.
I was going to continue in his footsteps, like the Robin to his Batman, until a very senior agent who was very wise, she sat me down and said, "No, Eric, that's not what he was doing. He was using you." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, he was going to take his new job and then run you as his asset and continue to spy and make money and just throw you away if it got too hot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is probably true.
Which he's done several times with other agents, with other people who got prosecuted or got blamed.
Right, that he blamed. Yes.
That he blamed.
And he
ruined their lives.
Oh
their
yeah,
careers.
absolutely. But here he was going to just puppet me.
Yeah.
Because and in fact, there was a point in the investigation where a senior agent that I never knew shows up at the office and everyone leaves, and it's very serious. And he sits down across from me, and I didn't get permission to use his name, so I didn't in the book. I give him like a funny name because didn't really like him very much. And he says, "We believe that he's recruiting you. We want you to make it happen." Because they wanted to turn me into a double agent. And then I would have never been able to leave the FBI.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I did. I started playing up to that. And it started really subtly. You know, Hansen got very angry that my wife and I had been married 3 months and she wasn't pregnant. Yeah. He's like, oh, the purpose of marriage is children. How are you not having children? I'm like, do I have to explain it to you?
Oh my God.
How birth control works, dude?
Oh.
Let me tell you how many kids you should have.
Oh my God.
But he had lots, right? And
the control.
And you never had to testify against him? Like he never saw you?
He pled guilty.
So there was never trial.
He had no chance. I mean, I found a smoking gun. A smoking gun. You never find them in cases.
It was the Palm Pilot.
It was the Palm Pilot. He was doomed. Everything we needed was right there. I mean, like a Bond villain, and he was a James Bond fan. How did they he had put it all there.
He was, huh?
Mm-hmm.
How did they decrypt it?
Yes.
If it was encrypted, like how did they?
They just decrypted it.
Yeah.
It's the FBI. They get the NSA working for them to do stuff like that. Yeah.
When you make an announcement that you decided to leave and enough is enough, did you ever get anything from your captain or from your superiors that like, hey, we're gonna bump you up and give you more money, just stay? Did they try to recruit
No,
you to
they
stay
didn't.
longer?
In fact, I said I was trying to shift into a cyber squad, but it was just a neophyte then. They didn't have a process. If there's no process in the bureaucracy, they can't build one. I also said, if you will help me pay for law school, which I really needed, I will continue and I'll go back to agents class and either be an FBI agent attorney or I'll go serve as a Justice Department attorney. They're like, well, we don't have a program for that. They have it now. Like they'll send you to law school so you can come back as a justice attorney or FBI agent attorney. But they didn't have it then. And they're like, oh, sorry, we just don't really have anything for you. And I was like, well, mic drop, time to go.
After everything,
Wow.
it's so like this stuff, this shit, you see it in the movies. Like
It's all true.
You serve well.
I had a great team leader who very early on when I was frustrated about, I don't know, some stupid thing. I needed a radio that didn't burn the hell out of my stomach when I shoved it down the waistband of my pants. And instead, the next year procurement, I got my 5th pair of binoculars, right? And I think I was like throwing a fit in our team room. And my team leader looks at me and he says, look, Eric, you have to understand, the FBI is a juggernaut. It is a bureaucracy. It doesn't give a shit about you. And if you get in its way, it'll roll over you, churn you up, spit you out, leave you for dead, and just find another person to replace you. So you're here because you're trying to make a difference, not because you're going to change the bureaucracy. You're just tilting at windmills. It was great advice.
Don't be biased, but can you be completely honest with us? Why other agencies, and we had a pleasure and no pleasure working with practically all of them, except Secret Service, not yet. Why everybody thinks that FBI is a cocky dicks?
They are.
The other agencies, they don't like FBI. When FBI show up, everybody, the day is over.
Yeah, I think
why is that?
Well, FBI are supremely confident in themselves. A lot of the training pushes you there. You're the best at what you do. It's next to impossible to get into the FBI. I get calls by kids all the time. Yeah, elite of the elite, especially in what you're doing. There was for a long time institutional bias that we're never the bad guys, we're always the good guys, which is why Hansen got away with it for so long. There's other agencies that are the bad guys. We were the white hats, we're the cowboys, we're the good guys. Some of it is that to do that job, you have to have this insane belief in yourself. If I'm working undercover in some of the most dangerous areas of DC, I got to tell myself I'm the most dangerous person here, right? I'm the most dangerous person here. That group of kids, that group of thugs, those drug dealers right there, the biggest risk to me was I was going to get my car jacked. And now this, insanely expensive, teched out of the world, undercover classified car with one of the most classified encrypted radio systems on earth is going to be stolen by some street hood driving down the street, and destroy my career. Like, that was the most dangerous thing that could happen to me. Like, they would give us crazy stuff. Like, someone in the FBI would say, everybody that's working undercover has to wear body armor. So they'd fit us to this like tailor-made body armor that measured, and it fit like under your civilian clothes, right? So you would wear, no one wore it. Like, no one's going to shoot me in the chest. Yeah. I'm going to get shot in the face. I'm sitting in a car.
Oh my God.
So hold on a second. Let me get my gun and like, right in the chest.
Like, the protocol was you had to have it. So we would throw it in the trunk of our car. Yeah. I have it.
God.
I just don't wear it. It was uncomfortable as hell. You couldn't hide a radio when you were wearing it. It was just, yeah.
Your kids know everything about you, right? I mean, as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, my oldest is going to be 18 this month, and then I've got a 16-year-old, and then I have a 12-year-old who's about to be 13. So like they've seen the movie, they've read my first book, they better have read my second book, which just came out.
How often do you talk to your kids about all of this?
Oh, they're little spies. They can pick locks. They know how to conduct surveillance. They know how to spot a tail. Like, they're great during, when we're driving in the car, they're like, Daddy, I think that car took 2 turns with us. I'm like, oh, really? Let's mark that one and watch them for the next mile or so. Yeah.
There's a million more questions I want to ask. I want to be respectful of your time because it's been almost 2 hours, believe it or not.
Really? Holy crap.
Yes. An hour, 47 minutes already. My mind is blown.
This is how amazing you are.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
I was thinking, are we running up on an hour?
No, we're almost 2 hours. I mean, I could do this for 7 hours.
It's been so much fun.
It's been
you guys
incredible.
Are good at this.
Can we please have you back?
Yes.
We would love to.
100%.
But I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about present day.
Yes.
I think, because I know, I mean, not only did you have this incredible career doing all of that, but then now you're not just going to rest. I'm going to become a lawyer, and I'm going to public speak, and I'm going to write all these books. Like, what's today now? Cybersecurity. I know you do a lot of talking about. Like, what is your mission now? What do you spend most of your time doing, and what can people glean from, coming to hear you speak or getting one of your books?
Absolutely.
Can we collab? Can we do something together?
Yeah.
Certainly. Those are some of the most fun things to do, collabing. I mean, Ryan Phillippe played me in the movie Breach, and we stayed friends this now almost 25 years since. And we just did something. I don't really do a lot on YouTube. I'm not like you guys. You guys are like superstars, but he and I sat down and we just got together, 2 guys that normally have teams throwing all this stuff, and we did our own tech and just alone at his house, and we did a conversation just talking about the intersection between spying and being a Hollywood actor. Like, could a Hollywood actor be a spy hunter and vice versa, and just unpacking that. It was so much fun. So those kind of things are great. Cool. So yes.
And we're going to be in DC probably early March. So
even better.
If you've got time, yeah.
Since leaving the FBI, I finished law school. I went and worked as a national security attorney for one of the biggest law firms on earth. I continued doing that. I did that for 5 years, and not like I was on the 5-year plan, 5 years in the FBI. I did that. I decided to leave and start a company. I started a company called the Georgetown Group that does competitive intelligence work, and still does. It's looking at the human intelligence side of background investigations, diligence. What we say is we empower trust. And then, in all of this, and especially after the movie Breach came out, I was thrown in front of media. I was thrown in front of people. I had to answer questions. And it just randomly, someone from a speaker's agency said, like, ever thought of doing a keynote? I said, no, not really. I don't think I've never really done that. He said, I got 25 grand for you if you do. I was like, I'd love to. And I did.
What is keynote?
Keynote is a speech.
It's a speech. It's a long form speech where you normally lead off in a large event. You're there. And people have different philosophies on what a keynote should be. In my mind, a keynote must do 3 things. You have to entertain, you have to inform, and you have to inspire, in that order. And where so many keynote speakers fail is they're great at the information. They wrote a book, they know a lot of things, but they don't know how to entertain.
But they're boring.
And if you can't capture an audience and make them feel like, I just saw the best thing ever and I'm energized for this conference, you failed. Yes. And it doesn't matter what you said.
You're one of the best storytellers I've ever met in my life, because I feel like I'm watching movies.
Thank you.
Eric, this could not be such a perfect actual opportunity to talk to somebody like you, because we do have 2 gigantic.
We're not really doing the keynote, but we're going to probably ask some questions,
But like going to Capitol Hill, again, be in front of congressmen, and then next Tuesday we're in Berlin, and we're going to be in the World Summit.
World Forum,
World Forum, sorry. And same stuff. You have to speak in front, a lot of people, including presidents.
So what you build whatever you're saying, figure out how long you have, right? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 20? I usually speak 45 minutes and then do 15 of Q&A. If it's 10 minutes, open with a story, something that will capture the audience. I come out on stage and here's how I open my keynotes. I come out on stage and I don't say, hi, everybody, or I don't tell some stupid joke, or I don't say, hey, the weather's great.
How's everybody doing
DC
today? Yeah.
I walk out on stage and I pause and I look at the audience and I just track the audience. I see what I'm dealing with and who's out there, and I let it fall. I let it just grow. That's silence. Silence is powerful. And then I look at them and I say, Robert Hansen walks up on a bridge in Foxstone Park in Vienna, Virginia, a stone's throw away from Washington, D.C. I go right into the story because here's the thing. If you're out there and someone's hired you to speak, they've hyped you up. Everybody already knows all about you and they can't wait to hear you. And they don't want to hear some stupid goofing around like, oh, hello, New Jersey. They want to just go right into the story. And so I lead with my claim to fame, that story, and I end with it. And in the middle, you get everything you need to know about cybersecurity to sort of change the way you think about it. And that's my goal in life.
So opening and closing.
So it has to, like you're writing a good story, have a beginning and a middle and an end. And it all should, I had a brilliant lawyer early on in my career who gave me some great advice. Like everything, all your paragraphs and sentences have to march and sing together. He was a Civil War reenactor, right? So when you're marching, it all has to fit together and flow. So when I give a keynote, even when I'm talking about why I'm the most successful cybersecurity keynote speaker out there, isn't because I know a lot, and I do, but I don't know a lot about some of these guys out there that are uncovering some of the biggest cyber scams or whatever. But it's because I'm entertaining. And I know how to craft a story that talks about these things that can be almost mythological to people or esoteric. It's for someone who basically knows how to turn a computer on and use email, a lot of the cyber stuff goes over their head, but I bring it down to something very real and visible that they can understand and connect with. And that's the number 2 thing. You have to connect with your audience. You have to speak to who they are, not who you want them to be, not who you think they are, which means you have to do your research on the audience, which is spy hunting, right?
Gosh.
Yeah. And then you have to give them something they can take away, some lesson that they'll learn, something that'll inspire them to do something into the future. Even if it's something simple like turn on 2-factor authentication everywhere. Don't rely on this password.
You've certainly inspired a room here. So yeah, holy shit. But speaking of cybersecurity, maybe it's just because we do a lot of scam awareness and stuff. So I guess what would be the maybe the most underrated or misunderstood cybersecurity tip or tips that you could give to, general layman,
So the good news is my new book, and I'm going to plug it right now, Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime.
We're going to have all this on screen too.
It jumped right up to a bestseller status in its first week, which is really exciting for me because cybersecurity books don't hit that.
That's awesome.
But it's written with true life stories. There is a central narrative that carries you through, kind of like my first book is the story of catching Hansen. This book is a central through story about surviving this massive ransomware attack. But it's broken down into all the ways that cyber criminals have learned from spies and used traditional espionage in this modern computer environment to fool us as people, which is why scams are really the way that most cyber attacks happen. And then lessons in the back half for how you could have defeated all these scams in the beginning if you knew my methodology paid. Prepare, assess, investigate, decide. Super simple. But it all comes from FBI counterintelligence training. So the cool thing is that the FBI read it and they were cool with it. And I'm revealing secrets that you can't know unless you went through Quantico or you read my book because the FBI, I think, kind of rushed in the review and it's in there, right? And it's cool. It's really cool. When you read it, you feel cool. That's some of the best feedback that I've gotten. Here's a great one with scams. When you are going to be the victim of a scam, something that you see time and time again is urgency. The bad guys don't want you to stop and think. They don't want you to go ask your friend for help. You guys deal with a lot of romance, financial, pig butchering type fraud with elders. And there's a reason that scammers go after elders. They can be in a moment in their life, and they usually look for like a widower, right? Where they're lonely, where they're looking for connection, where they feel like their kids are grown and they don't see them as much, and they need that special someone, and they're so desperate for them. The psychology of confirmation bias will make them confirm for themselves that this thing I know is too good to be true is true. And there's always urgency. And that urgency is, don't wait. This opportunity, this love interest, this investment scheme, all of this isn't going to be here tomorrow. No, you don't have time to go talk to your son. Why do you need to do that? You're a big person, that kind of thing. And when you feel that urgency, even though it can be very difficult, especially with some deepfake attacks where cyber criminals are calling parents using a deepfake voice of their child that's cloned and saying, "I've been kidnapped, mom, help me." I tell some of those stories in my book as well. That urgency is, I need to help my child. And one of the hardest things you can possibly do is hang up.
Yeah.
Right?
And take a minute and think.
And take a minute and think, or just pause and keep them on the line and take a moment to separate yourself and let your brain just work the problem. So that urgency is one of the biggest tells that you are in the middle of a scam and you might not even know it. What I do say, especially for teenagers and elders, if you're trying to help them, is make sure they have their go-to, that they know that they can go to their go-to no matter what time it is. And I ended up being the go-to for like everyone in my family, right? But it's okay. And it's constant. It's sort of like the most hard-nosed, suspicious person, right? To say, hey, this beautiful woman reached out to me on text by accident, and we've been chatting for a few weeks, and she's a financial manager and has this great idea to
invest in Bitcoin.
To invest, yes. Right? And it's this new thing, cryptocurrency. It's like, run away.
Yes.
Yeah. I just have to wire her money through Western Union.
Of course, right?
Yes. And all the things that are the amazing content on your show that show people, right? Teach by showing people, which is what I want to do with my book, how people that fall into these traps wind up in them. And another thing that's really important is if you believe that you're too smart and it can't happen to you, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because you're already in a mindset where you're not even going to see it coming because you're not allowing yourself to watch for it because you think that you're too smart. Some of the smartest people I know have been caught up in these schemes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they don't tell people because they're so embarrassed.
Yeah.
For teenagers,
factor, yes.
that can be life-ending.
Yeah.
Because they can be exploited to the point where they take their own life because they're so embarrassed they don't want to tell someone the extortion is happening. So you really need to sit down. I tell every parent, you got to sit down and read chapter 10 of my book with your teenager. Mm-hmm. If you don't read anything else, sit there and read it with your teenager so they know that you love them, that these things happen, and that no matter what happens, no judgment, they can come talk to you.
Really personal question. We actually, in the beginning, and it's been 2 years of writing our book. How do you pick the right writer for your book?
It was easy.
It was easy.
I wrote it myself.
This is it.
There you go.
This is it. That's
my dream for my entire life. Even before wanting to go to the Naval Academy, even before wanting to go to the FBI, and I'll make fun of myself a little bit. And part of the reason I chose the FBI over the DAA and Secret Service was I'm a huge X-Files fan. Was to be a published author, to be a traditionally published author. And I know now anybody can publish a book with self-publishing, but I wanted to do it the hard way. I wanted to be an author. I've always written since the first essay in like 6th grade and the first book I tried to write, which I still pull out every once in a while to laugh at myself. When I thought I was going to be the next great American novelist, right? So writing my book, Gray Day, my first book, Child, was an absolute dream come true. The number one thing off my bucket list. And, I love writing as much as public speaking. Oh, I learned so much. I had an incredible editor over at Random House, Crown Random House, named Emma Barry. She had my book and she had Michelle Obama's book, which is, they gave her that book. And then she's like, I only have these 2 books. So I got like a mastercraft in writing from her, in learning how to really craft things as my editor, right? And she was brutally honest, which is what I needed.
Yeah, supposed to be, yeah.
So Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime went a lot faster. And
I was going to say, plug them specifically. Where are the best places to buy them? What are they going to get from each one? Social medias, everywhere that people can follow you.
So Gray Day was, my books are kind of a little bit like a Frankenstein monster. That worked, right? Gray Day is the story of catching Robert Hansen through my eyes. It's a first-person narrative. My entire role day by day, literally day by day
Wow.
in the investigation and how it happened, which is a
I'm
phenomenal spy story. And I branch off at certain points to explain the evolution of espionage from the cloak and dagger, early espionage of Hansen's career and my career into today, which is all cyber espionage, right? And so it's a book about how espionage has evolved, wrapped in a thrilling story of catching the biggest spy in U.S. history. So it works.
Oh my
So you
God.
learn all about the history of espionage and cyber and how cyber espionage came to be and why it's so successful by reading a really cool spy book that reads like a novel, a thriller.
No better way, yeah.
And then Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime, which was years later as I speak and what works with audiences makes it into books, is a natural successor because it takes everything we've learned in Gray Day and applies it to cybercrime with the theory that the only difference today between getting attacked by a spy, a cyber spy, and a cyber criminal is the outcome. All the same tactics and techniques are deployed. And in fact, and I teach everyone what the dark web is, what it's about. I have a friend who is a dark web researcher. He was actually paid by the Department of Defense to go into the dark web and establish himself as a criminal so he could uncover the Dread Private Roberts, which was the biggest drug trade in history, was on the dark web. I go in over his shoulder and we dive deep down into the most horrible, deprived, evil places on the dark web to show the readers like this stuff's there, right? With the pictures. But it shows that the only difference is outcome, in that cyber criminals on the dark web, the cybercrime syndicates, what I call them, because I want everybody to elevate their thinking, not some kid, but actual big, well-resourced, sophisticated groups, are hiring intelligence officers from services and paying them to inform them, to make them better, to teach them espionage so that they're more adept at launching cybercrime, which is why cybercrime right now is the fastest growing business on earth.
You know, it'd be really cool is when we're in DC, if we did some like, of course, obviously if you had time or if it made sense, but it'd be so cool to do some kind of like hands-on like deep dive with you, or like do like we did with the 0 day, you know, the dark web kind of like just like an updated, because it's changing so fast and stuff. Like it'd be cool.
100%.
It'd be cool like through your eyes to like.
When he was telling me all of this, I would like immediately go with 0 day.
Yeah.
0 days.
Yeah.
0 days are getting easier now because AI has changed the entire game. And I play with my audiences too. I spoke in Portugal last month before last. I mean, the days all kind of blend together when you have kids. And you know, the audience was mixed, and I knew that most of them spoke English, but there would be simultaneous interpretation by interpreters. And I always tell the interpreters, like, the way I know if you're doing a good job is if everybody's laughing at my jokes or not. If I see half the audience isn't laughing, like, you got to step up your game. But what I did is I deepfaked myself and my voice, and then I had AI translate what I wanted it to say, which is a cautionary tale about how deepfakes are fooling people, into Portuguese.
Nice.
And then before I thought this has to be terrible. So I sent it to a friend of mine who speaks Portuguese, and it took her a while to answer. And she said, "This isn't you." And I'm like, "No." She's like, "I'm really scared. This is your voice and it's perfect."
Wow.
And I played it for the audience, and you could hear a pin drop.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
That's
to liven the mood, I had deepfakes of Trump and Biden holding my book and selling it to the audience. Yeah.
Well, ironically, we see scam victims going through that same stuff.
Oh, yeah,
about, you know, invest here, send me money here. Trump approves, you know, Kamala approves.
Yeah. This Brad Pitt just fell in love with you. Angelina Jolie fell in love.
Elon Musk.
So yeah, when I was talking with, when I was, had my conversation with Ryan Phillippe, he was like, there was a point where he had to call this woman with his parents and called her and her parents. He got his mom and dad down, and they called together to say, "You're not talking to me.
Yeah.
You're talking to a scammer. This is me telling you you're not talking to me."
They had him to do that, because usually that doesn't happen.
Well, he was kind enough to do it, and he really cares about his fans. But yeah, but to make sure that she really felt the impact, he had his dad and mom on the call with him. Yeah.
We've done.
Holy crap!
We sold our show last year to Fox, and it's called Scam Getting Even.
Cool.
And one of the episodes, it was exactly the same deep fake, and we did it. We were in a different state with the victim, showing her and showing Ashton saying these things live, and Ashton was like creeping behind and listening.
She thought she's FaceTiming with me, and they actually didn't end up using this scene, but she thought she was FaceTiming with me.
And he knocked on the shoulder. He was like, "You see, you're talking to me, but I'm here.
Yeah,
so who are you talking to right now?"
Yeah, I mean, it's uncanny, and the fidelity gets better every week. It's incredible, and what you can do, and like some of the deepfakes, it costs like $5.
No barrier to entry anymore.
And there's no barrier to entry, and anyone can do it. And I mean, there are apps out there that make it very easy. Yes. Now they play around, like you can't use that voice or you can't say this, which drives me nuts because now I'm trying to use it to create a training lesson on the dark web, and they're like, "Oh, you can't say
talk
that."
About the dark web,
It's like, well, I'll just find a different app, right? And you can trick AI into doing what you want it to do if you just ask it the right way.
Well, it's just about to say that.
Ryan 0 Day was saying how he's already jailbroken ChatGPT. He's like, I can get it to break its terms of service really easily.
Yeah.
You just got to do this and that. And
I don't know if you ever heard of
Ryan Montgomery.
Ryan Montgomery.
No,
he goes by 0 Day.
But I'll look him up. Yeah, I'll look for that episode. Ethical hackers are cool. Or some of them, they go out for bug bounties. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's not something I have a skill to do anymore. I'm like an old school hacker. Like it's gone beyond me, and I'm far more in the thought leader space, and I kind of stay in my lane. But I did found last year, end of the year before last, so we're approaching 2 years. I founded a company called NexusShore, and we do cybersecurity advisory. And the main reason I did it is that I tell this amazing inspirational keynote, business-centered inspirational keynote of how I caught the greatest spy in U.S. history, right? But everybody wants me to go talk about cybersecurity because it's so important to everybody, and I make it fun and I make it exciting, and the crowd loves it, and I sign books, and I thought, I want to put my money where my mouth is. I want to start my own cybersecurity company, but I want to support small businesses that can't afford like the big guys, and we found a way using AI to make it incredibly cost effective and do a lot of this thought leadership and advisory work and virtual CISO and all these sort of things where you can hire us to come in and help your team do the things they need to do without completely breaking your budget.
Mm-hmm.
But the other reason is I go on these stages and then people are like, can you help me with my cybersecurity? And it's like, now I can, right? Yeah. So it all sort of fits nicely together. I write books about it, and then I speak about it, and I come on amazing podcasts like this about it, and then someone hires me.
There you go.
And it's just amazing.
It'll happen. Where can people, what's the best place to get the books? Is it Amazon or on your website?
So anywhere books are sold. Okay. My first book was published by Crown and As Things Happen. My second was by HarperCollins.
Nice.
Only because they saw it and Crown didn't, and then maybe the next book will be Crown again. Who knows? But I love all my publishers equally, so you can get them anywhere books are sold. If it's not in your bookstore, ask them to get it, right? But you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on my website, ericoneal.net. And if you do buy it and you like me, go on Amazon, give it a 5-star review because it's the only way that those analytics help you. Yes.
Well,
get it in other people's hands.
We're on top of that. I'm going to be getting some too. So,
and I should say that if you love to hear my voice, then I do the Audible recording.
Nice.
Yeah, for both books. And actually, hold on one second.
It's literally everything, all our meetings that we had with our literature agencies, talking about audio, talking about everything that you have to get a book and then get.
Yes. And I've got a couple books for you guys.
Oh, no way. Wow. Are you kidding? You got to sign it. Can you sign it?
Yes, I'll absolutely sign it. I've got a Sharpie.
Here, I got one here.
Oh, perfect. You got a Sharpie.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Holy crap.
Art is A-R-T and Ashton is A-S-A-S-H-T-O-N.
All right, this right here. Everyone go get it. Go get it. Leave a 5-star review. This is
you're writing in Russian, right?
Cool.
No, I don't. My wife.
I mean, do mine, right?
My wife speaks
awesome.
Russian and
German.
She's fluent. All my kids speak German. My kids are like special agents. They both have U.S. and EU passports. They have German and U.S. passports. Wow. They're both dual citizens. My wife is now dual citizen. I'm the only one that's just American.
But your wife, she was born in Germany, right?
Yes. There you go.
That's incredible. Thank you so freaking much.
This is it.
Wow.
This is it. If there is a perfect ending,
I'm I know. My
we're
mind is
we're gonna collab.
absolutely
we're gonna have more
blown.
podcasts.
Right on.
We're gonna have so many more events that we can do
please
together.
stay in touch. And this was such a friggin' honor. Holy
absolutely.
crap.
The honor's mine. I'm
Thank you so
I love
much.
the work you guys. I love the work you guys are doing, and it's just such a joy to be in studio with you.
Oh, well, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, our door is like
anytime.
open, but plus you probably know the way to get in. So don't worry.
Yeah, all the different ways.
He's already got microphones on the walls,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
and these will hear us.
We'll take a picture.
Let's take a
do this
picture.
stuff.
Eric
definitely.
O'Neill, thank you so much. And holy crap.
Yeah, we cannot wait. And definitely when we'll be in DC in March, let's be in touch.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do something
That'd be
together.
Yeah, that'd be
amazing.
that'd be
All right.
great.